frothies.
Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome to On The Esky, a sports podcast where we wrap up the week in sports, have a few Denzel Throffingtons and talk some absolute dribble. I think we've got to address a giraffe missing from the room to kick off. He's been placed on the COVID list and he's got the spicy flu, so he couldn't join us today. But we've called up Steamer from the practice squad, who's sitting here on my left, to join us for this podcast. Welcome, Steam.
Thanks very much, boys. Thanks for having me. Good to get the call up. Usually live in Adelaide, but here in Canberra visiting some family. So good to join you, fellas.
Perfect timing.
Known you for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping I can do a job today like Usman Khawaja. Off the COVID list, step in there and just tidy things right up.
Well, we set the bar low, so it can only go up from here.
Yes. Though I mentioned no giraffe in the studio, he is on the phone, though. Are you there, Peppy?
Yeah, I'm here, boys. Am I coming through loud and clear?
Oh, definitely. How you feeling?
Yeah, very good, actually. I don't want to downplay it. I know a few people have been struggling with the spicy flu of late, but probably 3 days of sort of cold and flu-like symptoms and back into the beers. Happy to be here. Much like Travis Head, actually. He's on the bench. He's back feeling good. So Khawaja in, Head out, but feeling ready for the next test, to be honest.
Yes. So with that, we are live. It is Friday the 7th of January for us, following the third day of the Sydney test as it unfolds. Currently, they've just come back from a little break.
From the tea
break,
start
yes.
of third session.
What was the current score there? They're still 4 for 100 and something?
137.
137, there you go. Nathan Lyon bowling currently. On the menu, of course, we will talk a lot about the Ashes and how we have retained it, baby.
Yoo-hoo!
We'll get deep into how we demolished the English side with the Scott Boland and his excellent figures. Plus, we're going to talk about India, South Africa, and also the Bangladesh team having an historic win over New Zealand. The last week of the NFL, so we'll talk about Week 18 preview and review some of the madness that happened in Week 17. Yes, and then there's the NBA and EPL. They're continuing to push, even though they've got COVID, very much like the Big Bash League is currently. Plus, there's a little bit of fighting news and some other general shit talk to cover us off for this session. So, as always, there are timestamps below, so you can jump ahead to whatever sports you'd like to listen to. Please consider chucking us a subscribe or following us on the Instagram for some spicy memes. And, of course, besides Steam sitting on my left, there's another giant wanker at the end of the table. and Mr. Monkey, the stats man himself. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good. Yes. Being at home over the Christmas holidays meant that I've had a lot of work to do. So, yeah, been busy, been watching cricket throughout the day, took the week off to watch cricket. Keen to get into it.
Very, very, very much so. So, to kick us off, I usually do our shout-out beer and mop of the week. Peps, you're on the phone. Do you want to do your shout-out beer first?
Yeah, boys, this one hit hard personally and around the world, obviously. The passing of the Archbishop of Cape Town, Desmond Tutu. He had a good knock, aged 90. As we like to sometimes do, as many Aussies do, we use his surname to describe a 2-all split in tipping, which may actually happen today with 4 of us here, or the occasional visit to the men's room. But in all seriousness, by all accounts, ripping bloke. Had a lot to do with ending apartheid. He actually won a Nobel Peace Prize. And as we established last year, quite different to Robert Mugabe. Shout out to you, Becker, if you're listening. They're essentially polar opposites. One good bloke, one shit bloke. Old listeners will know that reference. But thinking of Desmond and his family, we'll see if we have a few 2-2 splits today. And
fitting.
We've got to get some Desmonds happening.
That's right. And just a minor one I'm going to chuck in. I did mention Travis Head. You can't see it, but I've got a few Coopers left over from Christmas. No one wanted them. Poor South Australian beer. I'm going to have a few Coopers today whilst I call in.
T Head would be. I think Coopers is too good for him. He'd be on the West End tins. I think.
As our resident South Australian, is Coopers like low end? Is that how it works over there?
Of the two SA brands, Coopers and West End. I mean, Coopers is still going and West End's shutting down, so that probably tells you what you need to know. So,
I'm with you. Well, Travis, I'm having a few Coopers on you, and hopefully not too much head on them.
Mr. Monkey, who's your shout of beer for?
Yeah, well, you guys actually nominated me for this one this week, and I took the challenge. I am going to shout a beer to...
In the memory.
In the memory.
And there's a few of those this week.
Yeah.
Pour one out. For Betty White. So she also passed away towards the end of last year. In fact, last day of the year last year, at age 99, was only a couple weeks away from hitting that ton. It's a bit of a sad...
Tragic to get out on 99, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, one run short, poor thing.
Yeah, that's it. You always put the challenge up to try and find some relevance between Betty White and sport. Besides the famous Super Bowl commercial back in 2010, the Snickers ad.
Yeah, there you go. That's the reason I put it there for you.
You're playing like Betty White out there.
Yeah. She took an absolute huge hit in that as well.
She took a huge hit, yeah. She'd been ridden all day by the quarterback.
Hey, she can play like other 99s, JJ and Aaron Donald, other 99s. She can play like them.
Yeah.
If only. But aside from that, I couldn't find too many other things sports related with Betty White. So I've taken the route of what was happening in sport in the world in 1922 when she was born. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, let's go through probably not stats, it's just general knowledge, some of your what do you call it?
Yeah, general knowledge.
Yeah, pub quiz, pub trivia sort of stuff.
Historical facts. Go.
So we go American football. The Canton Bulldogs won the APFA. Also in that year, the APFA renamed itself the National Football League that we have today. In soccer, the Football League, Liverpool won on 57 points. Tottenham Spurs won 51. Burnley, 49. Cardiff City was at 48. We jump across to Australia in the VFL. Mm-hmm. Fitzroy beat out Collingwood for the 26th VFL Premiership. If we go across to South Australia, Norwood defeated West Adelaide to win the 15th SANFL Premiership. Keep on going down the order. We'll jump back across to America for baseball. The New York Giants defeated the New York Yankees for the World Series in a series that went 4-0 with one tie. Cycling, Firmin Lambeau, Belgium rider, won the 16th Tour de France, third Belgian to do so. Jean Cezanne won the US Open in golf. Horse racing, King Ingoda won the Melbourne Cup. What else have we got? We'll go to ice hockey, Stanley Cup. Toronto St. Pat's beat the Vancouver Millionaires.
The Millionaires?
Yeah. Don't know what happened with them.
That would have been quite a lot of
$1
money
million bucks in those days would be
1922.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
fucking 500 million these days.
That's it. If we go to the Bumhole League, which wasn't the Bumhole League at the time, it was the New South Wales Premiership. North Sydney beat Glebe 35-3.
Two defunct teams.
Yeah. In swimming, we had Johnny Weisel-Miller swam the 100-meter freestyle in 58.6 seconds.
Jesus. Deal.
That's it. It was the first time someone had broken the 1 minute barrier, so that was probably a big deal back then. Mm-hmm. And then I'll finish off with tennis as we head into the tennis in the next couple of weeks, which I guess we'll talk about a little bit later on.
Yep.
Australian Men's Championship, James Anderson defeated Gerald Patterson, and Margaret Molesworth defeated Ennis Robertson. And then if we jump across to Wimbledon, Jared Pattinson defeated Randolph Lysett in the men's, and in the women's singles, Suzanne Leglaine beat out Mola Bjornsted.
Were they all vaccinated against Spanish flu?
He said James Anderson, so I mean he's been going around a while in cricket. I didn't know he had a stellar tennis career before that. I knew he was old,
ancient,
but
the old silver fox, isn't he?
Yeah,
he is. And that was the world of sports in 1922 when Betty White was born.
Thank you, James. Thank you for that history lesson.
It has changed since then.
Just a little bit.
And I'll keep the history going, and my shout of beer actually goes out to two gentlemen that passed away during the week. First, I want to start with John Madden, both NFL related. So John Madden passed away. Oh, I actually don't. He's old. But the shout of beer for me very much wanted to go to John, because I think for a lot of us, especially on the table and on the phone, really got into the sport because of the work that John Madden did, the video game, etc. The kind of his voice is synonymous for me with the NFL and getting into the sport. So it's a big shout of beer for us to. For our love of the NFL, probably comes from a bloke named John Madden. So, he condolences his family for a
huge influence on the game, and
massive.
Especially for us as people living outside the US, it's how the game has been known for a lot of people, and become more of a worldwide game. So
that's it. Aged 58.
58.
Yeah,
wow,
No, that's not right, John.
85.
Yeah.
Wow. Started strong with
only-
the maths today.
I was thinking he was
Let's get
not.
started early
It
today.
has.
He was not looking good for 58. 85 was,
85, yeah, sorry. Yeah, really did it all in the league as well. Player, coach, commentator, you name it.
Yep. And then,
I think had the highest winning record as a coach that coached over 100 games.
Yes. Yep.
yeah, it was an elite football mind with that, and that had led into his excellent commentary, and then kind of became a face of a franchise and that in the video games, which got a lot of people into the NFL.
And also got them into it at like a deep level, understanding, formation, how plays are called, like getting people
Excellent teaching tool.
On a similar level as to what's going through an offensive or defensive coordinator's head.
Yeah, definitely. So, and then my last half of my shout of beer goes out to Dan Rivers, was the longtime Denver Broncos head coach, Atlanta Falcons head coach, went to multiple Super Bowls, was also a player coach for the Dallas Cowboys, had a long, excellent record as well within the NFL, within his career across that. So another, big loss in the NFL world this week. So I'll shout, his family out a beer and condolences on the loss there as well. So that was my two shout of beers this week, both NFL related.
Can't get his age wrong. It was 77.
There you go.
Well, I'm going to shout a beer to someone who's actually still alive.
Yes.
Just to mix things up. I think the obvious choice for us as Aussies and Ashes fans, Scotty Boland. I mean, he's probably had a few beers since he knocked over England in the second innings, and the Test match finished in 2.5 days.
Yep.
So he probably has already had a few, but I'll give him one more. Test debut and second Indigenous Australian man to do so, behind Jason Dizzy Gillespie as the first. So that's worth an honourable mention. And then got his first wicket in the first innings, getting a LBW of Mark Wood. But then it was the second innings, just everything he touched turned it gold. Got 6 for 7, which is just unbelievable stats. I think he picked up his 5 in 19 balls, which tied a test record for fewest number of deliveries to get a 5 for. So everything he was touching was just turning to gold. And it's good to see today he's carried the form into the second match. Good to see him get another go. Kind of was looking like could have been a one-hit wonder. Hazelwood, does he come back in? Is he fit? Boland's playing again. I think his first 5 overs today, he was 2 wickets, 0 runs, 5 maidens. So just hit the ground running again. But I think I just saw him. He's been taken off the field. Had a little.
I was going to say he
spill.
He might need a beer after taking a.
Well, maybe he's had too many, and he's just had a little bit of a spill after bowling. So, but I mean,
Hooping it like that after a few beers is pretty impressive.
The big Victorian on the MCG, so I'll shout him a VB or a Carlton draft.
Yeah.
Interesting. I thought 6 for 7 might have been the best 6 for figures ever. I did a little bit of digging, and the legend over at ABC Grandstand, Rick Finlay on Twitter, is actually the second best 6 for ever. Would you believe Jermaine Lawson, 6 for 3 for the West Indies versus Bangladesh back in 2002.
Jeez, you're going all
Scotty,
right that day, aren't you?
Scotty is actually the second best sixer of all time. But unbelievable scenes. Listening to it on the radio actually down the south coast, New South Wales, didn't have a TV, and it was absolute scene. Just listening, just thinking, surely not another one. Surely, bang another one. And quite interesting that there was a lot of conjecture to him even coming into the side in the first place. He definitely silenced any critics that sort of questioned him being in that side. Horses for courses, rewarded the selectors by giving him a go on his best track. And we're seeing him now continue the form in his second test.
Yeah, well, he took two for nothing as well in this, so he was 8 for 7 essentially. So that's a pretty good stats for 2 tests.
How about before he came on, Mike Atherton? Shout out to Atherton, he's quite an entertaining commentator, I think. Likes to take the piss out of himself, which you like to see. He did say when Scotty was warming up for his first spell that he should take a photo of that average sitting at 7.5 or whatever it was. Because it's unlikely that it'll ever get better than that. And then in the next 4 overs, he took 2 for zip and it dropped down to about 6.5. So good on you there, Appers. Good old curse of the commentator.
Yeah, he probably had that kind of chat every time he faced up to Glenn McGrath. Today will be my day.
Yeah, definitely. A bit of a bunny, wasn't he, old Appers?
Yeah. So we'll get in the mop of the week in a second. We just England, both current batters, so Bairstow and Stokes have got their 50s and have kind of settled in nicely, which is a little bit concerning. And Nathan Lyon, they've taken a liking to him a little bit, trying to hit him out of their attack, I think. So we'll have to see, break this partnership, and I think England are done because their tail is a very long tail as that. So
need a wicket, boys. Need a wicket.
Need a wicket, definitely.
Bairstow's just launched one over Cow Corner. Definitely need a wicket.
Yes, a big 6 there. So mop of the week, and what an interesting story it has been.
Some contenders this
week. Yeah, definitely some contenders. Yeah. But I think the main one, especially being an Australian, has to be Novak. So no vaccination, Djokovic. So getting a medical exemption, flying into Australia, then the various Vic government, federal governments, Australian Open kind of going all around in circles about who gave exemption to who, about the rigorous review process they did and some of his medical evidence he provided. But it all kind of led down to, he had COVID at one point, so that's his antibodies. It created a bit of an uproar and a shitstorm with the general population of Australia, considering a lot of people are like, hey, I haven't seen my family in 2 years because I can't go anywhere. So I think the federal government, Mr. Dutton, stepped in and cancelled his visa. I
don't think it's Dutton anymore, Sean.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
That's why we're not a politics podcast.
Yeah,
Karen Andrews.
Karen Andrews, there we go. Yes, exactly. That's why we don't cover politics. So he had his visa cancelled. He spent 8 hours in Melbourne Airport. I think he's locked up in some hotel somewhere currently in Melbourne, not being able to go anywhere. I think there's been protests for his release outside the hotel today in Melbourne.
In the capital of Serbia as well. It's gone worldwide.
So the absolute shit show. The best thing to come out of this was all the memes, all the memes.
Thick and fast.
Yes. And, a unification of the country around the hatred of one bloke, and that being Novak Djokovic, has been excellent to see. So, he gets our mop of the week.
Yeah, nothing unites people like a common enemy, does it?
And
on that, boys, I don't think I've ever seen so many memes regarding one subject come through on one single day. It was an absolute plethora coming through. We were sharing a few of our funniest. I do like the Simpsons crossover one personally. But you know what else I'd like to highlight? Novak is probably the number one mop of the week, but everyone involved in this whole debacle, they can. Just as Nathan Lyon has possibly taken LBW.
Finger goes up.
Fingers up. Any reviews? No reviews.
Yeah, he walked straight away.
Gary needed a wicket there. So back to Novak. Just everyone involved in this whole process. It was an absolute shit show, and it has summed up the last 2 years where essentially no one knows what the fuck they're doing with anything to go on with COVID. Novak's reasoning, one could argue, he's had COVID. Supposedly his immunity would be better than people that haven't had COVID. But the fact that he was allowed to fly all the way over here and it had to get sorted out at the airport.
Last minute.
It's absolutely surmised the last few years. So general moppery involved. I was thinking not just a single mop, but possibly the whole janitors, the whole arsenal, whatever kind of mops you've got. The ones with the long tails, the normal foam kind of mop.
Maybe and the bucket. And the bucket.
Just chuck it all in there.
Oh.
And maybe the number one mop out of all of it was the old man who, typical Eastern European father of tennis player. We've had a few of those in the past. Jelena Dokic comes to mind. Likened his detainment to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. So in a world where, hyperbole and exaggerations are not few and far between, this might be right up there with being
as good a comparison as
to a
Desmond and Mugabe.
Yes,
it's on that level, isn't it?
It is on that level. The president of Serbia was involved. Apparently, it's got to hurt Serbian-Australian relations. Not sure how much trade we have directly with Serbia.
No.
That's going to hurt us big time.
Yeah, yes, and I think the
what do we think? Sorry to cut in hard off the phone here, boys. But what do we think going forward? Are they going to stamp it and say it's the world's number one tennis player? Let's get him in. Money talks, rada. Which was our thinking last year. I always thought he would get an exemption; it would be fine. Do we think that's what's going to happen going forward, or do you think they'll actually hold fast and say no? The rules are the rules. So, we don't care if you're the best tennis player in the world. You're going home. Yeah.
So I think. The Vic government, so the local government of Victoria and the Australian Open would love to do everything they can to get Djokovic down there because, like you said, money talks, and that puts bums in seats. The best male tennis player currently in the world. But the federal government's kind of put their foot in it here and said, well, hey, the rest of Australia's got the shits with this and, we can't keep going around in circles. So I don't think those two will be able to persuade the federal government to change their decision. So it's probably where it's going to be, and it'll probably stay that way. It shouldn't surprise me if they put him on a plane and he's out of here in a couple of days. To the delight of Federer, I reckon.
I will go the other way. I think Djokovic plays in the Australian Open. Ooh. I think he's here. If it's a paperwork issue, I think they'll work it out. I think he plays. That's my 2 cents. This whole thing caught me a little bit by surprise. I did think the whole time that they would make a different rule for Novak, considering that's what we've seen with sports stars throughout this whole process. So I'm going to stick by my gut feeling, and I think Novak's there come the end of January and the start of the Australian Open.
Well, I hope he doesn't play, and the reason I said Federer benefits because then Djokovic can't then will take the record for most Grand Slams.
Yeah, but it's inevitable, isn't it?
Oh, maybe. We'll see. You never know. He's getting older. He can hit that cliff and then not win anything from there, but it's probably inevitable. But
he might go full.
He needs to win one.
But he might go full AB after this. He might just be like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm out of here.
Yes. All right, enough of Novak, I think. Let's talk about something a little bit more interesting and that we thoroughly enjoy is the Ashes and the cricket. As mentioned before, we just got Stokes, and then it looks like Barstow has just taken a big hit on the fingers or the thumb.
His right thumb from Cummins.
Yeah, does it... Right thumb. Yeah, I'll allow it. So... It looks pretty bad, and he's shaking his hand there a fair bit. Hopefully, he can continue because if he goes out hurt, then they're in big trouble. So
they've copped a few today because Crawley got hit in the morning session on the hand. Now Bairstow's been hit.
I think Stokes was hit a couple of times as well. Maybe not on the hand, but that's an elite athlete body there. So let's talk about the Boxing Day test first because we haven't covered that yet. The English side made a bunch of changes. Barstow, as we just mentioned, was one of the ones that came in. Wood was back in, and they added Crawley and Lynch back in the side, which meant Burns, Pope, Wokes, and Broad were out. Cummins and Boland got in, and we mentioned Boland's excellent record there. And then, of course, Richardson and Nisa missed out. So Australia did defeat England in the Boxing Day tests by an innings and 14 runs. I can keep running, or do you guys want to take amongst?
No, I'll jump in.
Go for it.
So we saw Joe Root carrying England in the first innings again, but he kind of played nothing shot on 50. It was sort of one that he didn't need to play at. He poked at it, snicked up.
He's done that a bit late as well. He did that today too.
950s in Australia without 100. So that is actually the most, and he's ahead of such accomplished bats as Shane Warne with 8 and Mick Johnson with 7. So a lot of the noise around Joe Root is he's an excellent batsman. No one can question that he's had one of the best calendar years of all time.
Yep.
But he's still yet to find that elusive Test 100 in Australia. We much like today, we saw a little bit of resistance from Stokes and Bairstow. Butler, we've spoken about it before. He's like Richard Punt. Doesn't matter about the situation. He'll just play his game and kind of hold out to 3. And England making only 185. Boys, I was leading Adelaide at this stage. I was about to board the plane as we went out to bat, and I just had my fingers crossed, my hair crossed, I had everything crossed, hoping that when we landed, hopefully that would be none down. But mostly thinking of Marcus Harris, trying to make some runs. And when I landed, I saw one down. I thought, oh fuck, here we go. Harris is gone again. But it was Warner with a very quick 38 or 42, and Harris he had a really hard fought 76. Kind of got the monkey off the back a little bit. Sort of rewarded the selectors with a bit of their continued faith. Did top score for us in that inning. James Anderson, the best of the bowlers there for England. And then, boys, the capitulation.
Yeah, so just let me cover. So England were 185 from their first innings. Australia were 267 from theirs, leading into it. And then
actually a bit of fight from England to get Australia out for 267.
Yeah,
or probably first time in the series. Labuschagne
and Smith,
not much. Yeah, Smith, not much.
Yep.
Yeah.
So good effort from the England quicks and the attack there to actually at the end of the first 2 innings to have a competitive game.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, indeed. It was kind of the first sort of 2 sessions where you go, England were on, not on top, but competitive, throughout the whole series. There's been very few sessions where you've gone, oh, that's England's session. And they actually did get a few, when they got Marnus cheap, when they got Smitty cheap, you actually kind of thought there might be a game of it.
Yep.
Unfortunately,
the third innings happened.
What happened was capitulation, to say the least.
Yeah, well, England in that third innings there were out for 68. They had a horrible start. They were 4 for 31. Jack Leach was the night watchman, and he had a nice, beautiful leave.
He watched the ball straight onto the top of his off stump.
Yeah, sure did.
So and
second ball crack at that one.
Yeah, and they were out in quick succession, which end of the game essentially. And with that, the Australians won the Ashes, the series. They only had to play 12 days of cricket across 3 Test matches. It's I can see some of Pepe's comments in there. How to lose an Ashes in 12 days, starring Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson.
Good meme, that one.
Yeah.
The Mighty Ducks. I did see someone had photoshopped all the English players on the Mighty Ducks, that famous movie from the early 90s regarding ice hockey and taking on the Soviets. England did have 54 ducks in the calendar year. That tied their own record, actually, with their 1998 calendar year.
Five and a half innings.
For a graph with
Joe
Root. Yeah, Joe Root leaps and bounds ahead of anyone else. Joe Burns, actually, second highest scorer for them on the year. And if extras were a bat, it would have been the third highest scorer for England in the calendar year. So that just shows their woes in the batting depth outside of anyone called Joe Root.
Yeah. So I think you put the question there, is there pressure on him as a captain? Potentially replacing and putting Ben Stokes there as a captain. Or he said, he stated he's got no real ambition to be the captain, to have that C against his name. So I think Root's probably been hard done by. And I think we had this conversation. Like, he's by far the best player on the English side. He is their number one stick. It's just he's, this generation or this era of English cricket, this cricket team just has no support outside of probably Stokes and Archer, where they need to go away and rebuild around those three maybe. And of course, one of those are not playing in the Ashes. And the other one had only just come back after a long break. So they're probably a little, a couple of years away from where they potentially are. Their best is. They need to go away and use those three. Joe Root should probably stay the captain, but they need to rebuild that squad, I reckon.
Definitely. It's not a question of captaincy. It's development of the players.
Yeah, quality.
Like, you change him for anyone else, the team isn't going to get any better. No. They're not going to be playing any better.
And he's not being, as a batter, he's not going in good situations. Like, if you compare Joe Root, the English number 4, to Steve Smith, the Aussie number 4, like, when they're actually going into bat, England constantly 2 for nothing.
Yeah.
Aussies probably 2 for 100 plus often.
Let's say 100.
And, the situation that they're being put in. But, like, the other thing with Stokes, like, he's even seems to have a bit of a side strain in this game. And
probably won't bowl in the next match.
Yeah, like, we all want to see him be consistent in playing cricket, but probably in the last couple of years he hasn't been able to get on the park consistently for a variety of reasons. So it's hard to pick someone as a captain. Like, obviously, if he's healthy, he's second picked. But if he's not always on the ground, it's hard to be captain.
Yeah, and
I might jump in here, lads, on the phone. I don't know where this Root needs to go as captain kind of chat comes from. Ian Chappell has been a big advocate for saying that Root's a good bat, but he's not a good captain. Who else have they got that's better? We're talking about Ben Stokes, that's had a lengthy time off with a broken finger and a mental health break, and has been a fiery competitor on and off the field, has gotten himself in off-field dramas in the past. He doesn't scream captaincy material to me by any means. And going back to your point there about Joe Root always coming in under the ship, we've got the numbers here from the Ashes. These are the opening partnerships for England so far in the Ashes. 7, 4, 4, 7, 23, and 0. That's going back to, obviously, Burns getting skittled at the Gabba there. And I think today was less than 20 as well.
It's 22, I think,
22. So he's always under pressure, and I don't know how much pressure you can put on one man. It's not his fault that they've been playing like shit. Their bowlers aren't too bad. The problem is that they've got 5, 6 out there that aren't at an international level. That's their problem. I don't think it's Root's captaincy.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure where this yarn's come from. It's like there always needs to be a scapegoat. You know what I mean? There always needs to be someone to feed to the media, to feed to the masses. And I don't know if it's Joe Root.
Yeah, and English media loves that. The comment I wanted to make was potentially, the next English captain's not currently in the squad. Joe Root. And when you think about it, if the next 2 to 3 years, who's going to be the one guy that you definitely will say is in that English squad will be Joe Root. He's going to be the consistent one, whereas the other one's probably going to come and go until they kind of settle and bring in new guys. And maybe at that point, that's where you consider, hey, this guy, this up-and-comer, this new guy, he's been in the squad for 2 years. He's, on that kind of level. He can maybe take over from Root so Root can focus on his batting. I don't think they've got that guy available and ready in the squad to go.
If you want a young guy, they've kind of highlighted Ollie Pope as possibly a future captain of England. Struggling to get into that side at the moment. He's only 23, but going forward, they've definitely earmarked him to possibly take over the baton. But yeah, going forward, you're obviously going to have Anderson and Broad retire, probably in their next home series back in England.
Yeah,
Root's still young, but Milan's getting long in the tooth. Bearso's getting long in the tooth. It doesn't look very good going forward for English fans. And here's another question for you, boys. We've seen them be very, very good at white ball cricket. They've got that 2019 ODI World Cup under their belt. They've been very, very good at T20 cricket. Is this sort of lackluster test performance over the last sort of 2 years a product of that, perhaps?
Potentially.
Yeah,
but then again, the guys that won the recent World Cup are currently doing quite well in this series. So, yeah, I think it's kind of a bit of both. You got to be able to transition or play the different two kind of sports, as we like to refer to them as, but hard to say.
They are different sports. Sports.
They've been so good at white ball, and when we're talking just now about options as captain, Owen Morgan's been that white ball captain for him, but I don't see him playing red ball cricket anytime soon. But and they've got plenty of white ball cricketers that are high standard. Even I was thinking before in the Big Bash, we've got plenty of Englishmen who perform pretty consistently, who actually like Sam Billings and James Vince come to mind as kind of English batsmen who have success.
Do very well.
Yeah, and actually have success in Australian conditions, but is it, that 2 games, can they transfer 2020 cricket to red ball? Do they even have a desire to?
Yeah, and there's kind of a good point, because we talked about it on the last potty before Christmas, with Labuschagne, the bus change getting the number one is it IOC or ICC?
ICC.
Yeah.
And there goes Josh Butler, boys. There goes Josh Butler.
Oh, spoon that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in trouble now.
Another duck, so add that to the tally or begin this year's tally.
It restarts now. But let's hope they can't break the 2021 record for the sake of the Barmy Army.
Well, the next 4 batters in might
they might bring a few together. They may do.
Column.
Yeah. So my comment was going to be now the Australian side, they have both the number one cricketer and bowler. That's not cricketer. Batsman and bowler in the world. But no, I think it might have been Rick and kind of pointed it out. The Australian side outside of Australia hasn't really been proven recently, because of course with COVID, haven't travelled that much. So like our guys still need to go to the the subcontinents, and also go back over to England and play a lot of tests across the world to kind of prove that they've been excellent in Australia. You got to prove it elsewhere, and with the subcontinent test coming up, need to kind of maintain that. So, though we're asking all these questions about England, there's still a lot of questions about this Australian squad. Though they are excellent at home and have been, they've dominated throughout the Ashes. What that looks like when we go overseas. So,
Sean, I'm going to disagree with you there. It's apples and oranges, because we've never been embarrassed like this overseas before.
True.
And I asked the old man, have you ever witnessed an Ashes series so one-sided? And he's got 30 years on me, and he said, no, this is the most one-sided Ashes series I've ever seen. I feel like when we go to England, when we go to India, sure, we lose series, but we don't get embarrassed like this. And it'll be tough for England going forward. Sure, I think we've got 9 tests coming up in Asia this year. That's going to be very challenging moving forward. But I don't see us getting absolutely swept and pantsed in each and every one of these tests. Dark times for fans of English cricket.
Hopefully that's not a commentator's curse.
Yeah, you put the curse on us now, baby.
Don't timestamp that.
So
timestamp. We said last year we were afraid of the gather. That one aged really, really well. Sometimes you got to make a call. Sometimes you got to put your throat out there, the proverbial chicken, if you will.
True.
But I don't see us getting absolutely embarrassed like this anywhere in the world. Sure, we might lose a series, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah. So let's talk about the 4th test, the pink test, currently going underway in Sydney. Has been a lot of rain and stoppages to the start. So with the squads, England, Broad came in for Robinson. Kind of disappointed that he missed out on the last two tests, noting those decks probably suited him. And he kind of rewarded the faith in this one as well, getting, I believe, a Michelle in the first innings. For Australia, Head got the spicy flu and was out, and then Usman came in and did an excellent job. We'll talk about that in a minute. And Boland managed to keep his spot, and I think having won the series and Hazelwood being a bit sore, they decided to rest him, and got to give Boland his credit after the last Test match. Some notes. You scroll down for us, James. So day one, Australia wins the Test and elected to bat. Uncle Alan Madden did a ripper of Welcome to Country for us. Did a pause for a laugh bit.
He goes, for my first song I'll perform.
Yeah.
And then Paul he didn't say the pause for laughter, did the old classic setup, got a few laughs, and then he said, where there's a will, there's relatives. And quite a fun spin on the Welcome to Country.
Oh, it was,
and I think that the viewers and Australians of all colours enjoyed Uncle Alan Madden's input and a great way to start the Test.
Yeah. So day one for Australia, we won the toss and elected to bat. We finished 3 down for 126, but there was a lot of overcast, a lot of showers. I think the ground staff got the most work running in and out, pulling out the stumps, laying the covers down, taking the covers off, putting the covers back on. They had a rough day. Max Harris was probably the best, had a hard-fought 38 from 109 balls out there. And it kind of led to a pretty typical Sydney Test currently with, rain stoppages. So day two is probably Usman's day. Let's talk about that. It was, again, frustrating first session with the rain on and off, which has kind of been constant across Sydney for the remaining days as well. Usman comes out. He got dropped on 28 by Butler off route, I believe.
I think it hit Butler. Then route.
No, it was Leach. It hit Butler's gloves, and then it kind of popped up for route. And I think it came in a little bit slower, perhaps, than route had expected. And a tough one of those sort of deflections, but it did hurt them big time in the end.
Yeah. The second new ball did a bit. Smith got to 67 and Green was out for 5. But Usman, as I mentioned before, kind of rewarded the faith and the selectors. Got 137, a century for him. He's, since 2019, over 863 days in the wilderness. In that time frame has more centuries than Virat Kohli does.
He does.
So, Ian Chappell, of course, I don't want to keep referring to the mop, was getting stuck into him section he can't improve, but,
Nah, fuck him, he's a mop.
Hadn't shown anything to suggest he's improved. He has already had a Test match average of 40, which isn't terrible.
Yeah, 8 tons, averaging 43. I don't know. People get on a vendetta.
Yeah.
And maybe Ian a little bit salty that Khawaja had hit back at him, playing the old war joke, at least I'm the best cricketer in my family on poor Ian. But yeah, he looked pretty good from the start, I thought. He was driving well. His pull shots were well timed. He kept them down. The big thing now, I guess, moving forward, with Head back healthy, what do the selectors do going forward? Does Khawaja go and open and Harris gets the flick? Yeah. Does Khawaja, they say thanks for your efforts, and he misses out in Hobart? Is Cam Green in any danger? With the way he bowled today, you'd think no. What do we think going forward?
So, great question. Just let me finish off. So, the lower order chipped in. Stark got 34. Also has a better average than Kohli.
Another not out.
Another not out. Lyon was launching Broad for a 6, which ended up being elite, but Broad did finish for the Michelle, like I said. He was moving that second new ball around. So in total for the end of the day 2, Australia was 8 for 416 where they declared. England finished that day at stumps 0 for 13.
About 4 overs they had to face before stumps. Just that tricky little period.
Yeah. Stark got Crawley out, but it was a no ball, unfortunately. but he got his just desserts at the start of day 3. But to answer your question, so we've got to talk about Usman and where he fits into the side. And I think of the guys you listed, Head and Green, I think they'll stick with them with the way Green, of course, being young, up-and-coming talent. They want to kind of build him up. Still only 23, I think.
22, I think.
Yeah. So very young. Going to build him up. Head, same kind of thing. Still a younger kind of batsman. Did score 150 earlier. So I think he spot's fine. The one you got to worry about is probably Harris. The 76 has helped him. But a guy like Usman, who has opened in the past, has a good record, just did 100 like it was, walk in the park. I haven't been away that long. Was pretty impressive. Probably the only thing against Usman is maybe his age, and they want to stick with someone young like Harris. But for me, if I was picking it, I'd Harris out, Usman in.
I mean, what made Uzi's innings even more impressive was that he hasn't played any cricket in about 6 weeks.
Yep.
He's been running drinks for everyone else. Being the 12th man, had a very good Sheffield Shield leading up to the start of the Ashes, but to come in off no competitive cricket for over a month and do what he did, it's a bit like Boland in Melbourne. It's like, well, how do you drop this guy?
Yeah.
And like, is Green in any danger? He looks all at sea when he's batting. He looks like he's completely devoid of confidence, not comfortable on the front foot whatsoever. But I mean, he's taken wickets throughout the series. He's got root a number of times.
He bowls 136 to 140. He's still bowling good space.
At the moment, you'd almost go, Stark, you can go up at 6. Maybe we'll keep Carey at 7, Cummins at 8.
Yeah, Cummins needs to be demoted at least one spot, and you move Starkey up.
I mean, Greeny can come in at 9. Maybe it's like, come in when it's 7 for 350 and just have a tonk, mate. You get some confidence that way.
Yeah.
That's
But
an interesting take, to demoting him down the order. I suppose the thing is that the talent is there. Like, we've seen it at Shield level, and even last summer we saw him go quite well with the stick. It's just been a complete reversal. It took him so long to get his first wicket in Test match cricket, and now they're just coming in droves. But the batting's kind of dropped off. But I think they love Cameron Green. I think they love what he does in the gully. He moves well for a big man. I don't see him getting dropped. I tend to agree with you.
He's probably the one.
I think Khawaja may be opening with like. How do you drop a bloke that hasn't played Test cricket for 2 years and goes and scores a ton on command? Like, he'd be pretty hard done by to miss out on the next Test, you'd think.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about Green, I think he's the one guy that England have gone, you reckon Boland top of off is a good strategy to this fella? And and it has worked. Like they seem to actually have a plan to him where pretty much everyone else, they go, oh, well, let's just hope they get themselves out.
Some short stuff maybe that'll open up.
Yeah.
So you're happy keeping or putting Uzi in as an opener? Like, he batted well at 5. Would you want to change the order?
Historically, he's batted as an opener, and he can bat anywhere really. I forget, he's had that opportunity throughout his career, but I think you put him in there. It'd be interesting to see what they do for the last test, whether they blood a whole bunch of new blokes or not. I'd say maybe not. The guy, you kind of stay kind of true to your test team. Maybe they get, say, Swepson in there as one guy to get some test bowling, before they then go overseas to the subcontinents where they're going to need an extra leg spinner like himself. So maybe that's the only change I can think of going in the next test.
And that's an interesting point you make there, Sean, because now with the World Test Championship, every single game counts. You can't really take the foot off the throat. You want to keep getting points because there's no final system. It's just those top 2 in the rankings will play in the World Test Championship. We've started off very, very well. We currently sit on top of that, and England and New Zealand right down the bottom of it. But you wouldn't want to let up. I don't know if they'll be unless guys are legitimately sore and need a rest. I think they'll go full swing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
So let's finish this pink test off. So it is day 3. It was rain delayed again, like all the other days. Scott Boland continued his unbelievable start. As we mentioned, he got 2-0 off his first 4 before lunch. So England were 4 for 36. Unfortunately for him, he's taken that tumble, and they just shown before he's gone off to get scanned. So whether that's it didn't look knee related. I think potentially maybe it's more rib related. Maybe he's got a cracked rib or something like that.
He's clutching his side.
Yeah, so he may be done, unfortunately, for this test match if that comes back with anything. Interesting.
That's where Green's bowling's going to really come in handy, isn't it?
Yes, a benefit of having Green as an extra bowler there because he bowls some decent wheels and can bowl a fair bit. Interesting kind of strategy with England here. They've kind of gone after the Australian bowlers a little bit, either trying to run the score up very quickly or trying to hit them out of the attack. A bit of a different
Wood
approach.
Might be in for a good time, not a long time.
Yes,
I think.
Yes. They currently sit for 6 for 193 with a 223 lead run to the Australians. I'm just trying to work out where the follow-on is.
200, so they need to get
another 23.
Yeah. So maybe that's part of Wood's
strategy.
thinking if he can whack a few and get the lead under 200.
Because potentially, they could force them to come back out with the way the weather's been, trying to chase the win versus go out, bat and try and score another 200 and then put them in with it potentially raining on day 5. So I think the weather plays a big part in that decision of whether they'd force them back in or not.
Yeah, big time, Sean. I think this is probably one of the only situations where you would want to enforce the follow-on. Generally speaking, teams don't really do it anymore. But yeah, with this game being obviously rain affected, it kind of would make sense.
Just got what Root got in the Adelaide test. But he's just fine about it.
The thing is, Bairstow's set here. Will they lose 4 for 23? I doubt it. And again, for English fans, I hope not. I don't.
Well, Boland's on the sidelines, so.
Yeah. I think in 20 minutes it won't be a discussion. But an interesting sort of tidbit there. Definitely, when they were 4 for 36, the commentators were talking a lot about it. Would you enforce the follow-on here? And I think the answer probably would be yes, considering the rain delay.
Yeah, agree.
Aussies might just go out for a bit of 20-20.
Yeah.
Have a little while, have a smash, and put them back in.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, it might just depend where they finish up today and then where it is tomorrow. Again, weather-related and what they kind of feel. Green's been pretty economical there. He bowls a really good line and length, so he's doing his job he needs to do, filling in for Boland there. Maybe not as dangerous as the others, but we'll have to see, watch and see what happens.
Just real quickly before we move on, perhaps you mentioned when a test was so one-sided against Australia. I've had a look at the stats. The last time Australia was whitewashed was back in 1890. It was a three-test series. England won 2, and the third one was abandoned.
So not quite.
And that's the last time.
Yeah. It looks like that was the last time Australia was whitewashed.
120-odd years.
Yeah.
127 years.
That's it. There have been a few series in there where Australia had 1 and England had 4, but even then they're going back before 1950s.
Ashes. Yeah, this is just Ashes we're talking.
Just Ashes, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why I couldn't remember it. Ask Ian Tackle, he might.
He was playing.
All the dinosaurs. So,
boys, as we wrap up our Ashes discussion, quick shout out to my boy Jared Ross. Obviously, sitting here in Camp COVID Day 6 isolation. He's just dropped off a box of beers to me to keep the throat moist and the cat shit. That took a long time to spit out as well.
Good on you, Rosso.
Yeah. Okay, that'll finish Ashes. We'll continue with the cricket. We've got to talk about India taking on the Saffers. Probably the first thing of note, which we don't have there, that we should mention is de Kock retiring. So he's going to finish up and put the stick down. Only 29, I believe. So quite young.
Just from Test match cricket, right?
Yes, from Test cricket.
So still do the white ball cricket, both representing South Africa and then I guess all the franchise around the world.
Yep. So,
and one tends to think there might be a fair bit of politics at play here. We did see him not take the knee in the T20 World Cup.
Yep.
Wasn't received very well from the South African Cricket Board. I do wonder if that has played into his decision. He played in his first test, did he not?
First one,
yes.
Yeah. I mean,
and
publicly his reason was that he was expecting a child imminently. Which
I did see. Congratulations to him and his wife. They did just have their little bub.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of a head scratcher because obviously they're best glovemen and quite accomplished in all formats of the game. So yeah, it does kind of beckon the question why he's hanging up the gloves in Test match cricket. But but that's his decision, and all the best to him going forward. Just pursuing white ball cricket.
So let's talk about this match. India started off well, 327 for their first inning, with Rahul getting 123. Kohli, again, only 35 there. So a good score. Had a full day rained out for the Saffers then to come in. They did 197.
Just going back to India's first innings, it could have been a lot more. It was Mayank Agarwal and KL Rahul put on 117 for the first wicket. Pujara is in a little bit of curry, I think. He went first ball, and then Kohli and Rahane both making starts but not going on big. But yeah, 327 off the back of a ton from KL Rahul.
Yep.
Shout out to Lungi Ngidi. He had 6 to 71. He's only 12 matches into his Test match career, 40 wickets at 22, if you don't mind. So if he stays healthy, we'll be putting up some big numbers, you'd imagine.
Yep.
Yeah, only 12 tests. I thought he's been around a lot longer than that. So
yeah,
that's surprising.
I think played a fair bit of white ball cricket. But, obviously, in the kind of the changing of the guard from your Dale Stones and your Vernon Philanders and your Morne Morkles are pretty hard to get into that side. But you watch now, him and Rabada will be, that'll be their front line attack for years to come.
Yeah. So the Saffers were 197 for their first innings. They did have a horror start there, 4 for 32. The Indian quicks were very good. Mohammad Shami, probably the best with Michelle for him from 44. India followed that, 174 for them. They had a few starts, but of course no big scores. Pant got 34. Rabana was 4 for 42. And Jensen was 4 for 55. And the South African squad can only do 191 in response to that, and the Indians share the wickets around there, and they win by 113. So the second test, a little bit more interesting in Johannesburg. Kohli was out with back spasms, so Rahul was the captain. Probably a bit of writing on the wall there for Rahane.
Isn't it? Let's speak about that for a second. So Rahane has gone from being the vice captain and captain in Kohli's absence to having some kind of injury that forced him out in that. I
think it was a hamstring.
Yeah, hamstring that he found out about on the day that he was injured, and then has lost his vice captaincy, and KL Rahul has taken it. So you'd think it's do or die now for Ajinkya Rahane.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Rohit Sharma? Is he injured or just not picked? Or
Mark, you might be able to chase that one up. Obviously, they're trying to unify Rohit as the white ball skipper for both T20s and ODIs. Whether he's been omitted.
Has he been picked recently? I can't think.
Well, they got Rahul and Agarwal opening, so he's not playing.
Yeah, and Gill was the other replacement.
They rarely seem to have the same team 2 matches in a row.
Yes.
But they've got so much depth.
That's right. They've got about two teams worth of guys who can play in the first 11.
Yeah, indeed. And to that point, So Hanuma Vihari came in for Virat Kohli, and we just saw Shreyas Iyer make his Test debut against New Zealand back in India. And on debut, 105 and 65, man of the match in that one. Granted, he didn't make any runs in that second test. Do you think he was a little bit stiff to miss out on selection there in Kohli's absence?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to have one bad game or even one bad innings because you might not be back for the next match.
I wonder if they pick based on conditions like weather and pitch or where they are.
Yeah,
if there's a preference there for. So yeah, they've got the ability to do it, and it's
just a rotation thing. India plays that much cricket that they just keep rotating the team.
Yeah,
it just seems far more cutthroat than, say, even our approach, where Marcus Harris or an English approach, where guys do get multiple opportunities to prove themselves at the top level. It just seems like, this is your opportunity, you take it or you're gone. But a little bit stiff on Shreyas Iyer. I imagine he will play a lot more Test cricket. I'd love for any of our Indian fans to get at us. Obviously, we've been pretty preoccupied with something called the Ashes going on down under. Probably haven't watched a heap of this series, more catching the highlights. But yeah, if you'd like to let us know in the comments how your thoughts are around the current selections in the Indian best 11, who the best 11 even is. So we'd love to know.
Yeah, so some comments. So Bumrah's the vice captain now, and Rahul is the backup captain, as we mentioned. Rohit is actually injured.
Nursing a hamstring.
Nursing a hamstring. And Kohli got back spasms due to so much backstabbing from the BCCI. Thank you, Ricken, for all those notes.
Well done. That's very good gear there, Ricken. Very, very well played there, mate.
Yeah. So talking about this Test match, the second one. So India had probably unders. They got 200 off their first innings. They won their toss and batted. Rahul got 50 and Ashwin knocked in for 46. Jensen again was bowled well for this.
Have you seen him? He's even more of a giraffe than our giraffe. He's huge.
So 4 for 31 for his.
There was a few funny photos of him standing up against a few of the Indians, absolutely tearing over.
There's been a bit of spice in this match, a bit of back and forth.
Yeah.
There's
no
crowds because of the COVID situation in South Africa. So everything that's going on the field, the stump mic is picking up. So there's been a bit of spice on the field.
You like to see it. India are always fiery these days. They're kind of, I don't know, back in the Tendulkar and Ganguly, Dravid kind of days, they were kind of it seemed, a little bit more, I'll say respectful. Like there wasn't so much back and forth. There wasn't so much yap. Whereas this Indian side, particularly under Kohli, but guys like Ravi Ashwin, Ravi Jadeja, they love the back and forth. They really like to go at it. So yeah, you like to see it, especially as a neutral viewer, where you don't really have a horse in the race. You like to see them going at each other.
So second innings for South Africa. First innings.
Second innings of the match.
Yes, second innings of the match is what I meant. Yes, they were 229. Peterson was their best at 62, and Thakua. Did I say that right? Lord
Shadu Thakua.
He was 7 for 61. Absolutely dominant, including 5 of the top 6. That's pretty handy to keep India in this match. They responded, though, for 266 in their innings. Rahul and Pujara were the best, but they were both are under the pump and needed some runs, so that was good to see from them. The wickets were shared around between the Safra attack with Rabana, Oliver and Jensen all getting 3 poles. So South Africa needed 240 for win. Elgar got 96 and they cruised to
skipper's knock.
Yeah, and they cruised to a 7-wicket win there to actually make this series quite interesting. 1-1 there currently. The third test is in Cape Town and that starts on Jan 11th. So in 4 days our time.
Yeah,
we've got a good tight test series. How good, boys? Because we're definitely not getting that down under at the moment.
No.
But interesting to see, and it goes back to that, that conversation about where English cricket's at. They've come down here and getting absolutely pants, whereas India can kind of go around anywhere in the world and hold their own. Looking forward to this third match in Cape Town. Interesting thing I sent to you, lads, I think, in the group chat. Joburg, 111 wickets straight before Ravi Ashwin took a wicket, the first spinner to take a wicket on that deck there in Joburg for 111 wickets. Ridiculous.
Yeah. And my comment I wanted to make was it's actually good to see South Africa kind of stand up at home as well and take it to the Indian squad. So instead of just what we thought going into this, they were going to get absolutely demolished. So good to see a good test series happening there. Elsewhere, historic win for the Bangers, Bangladesh over New Zealand. The first ever win on Kiwi soil. Had a look in their away test match history. It's a lot of red, so a lot of losses there. It's taken them 10 years to win away after being granted test status. And that was against, the West Indies in 2009, 2010. So they've only beat Zimbabwe.
Granted test status early in the early noughties, about 2000, and it took them 10 years to get an away win, and that was against the West Indies. And since then, they've only beaten Zimbabwe and Sri Lanka away from home.
Yeah, exactly.
So absolutely huge things there for Bangladesh to knock off the World Test champions. There was a big caveat, I guess, in that their best batsman, Kane Williamson, was unavailable.
Yeah, no, Kane Williamson was a big out for them. So New Zealand batted first. They got 328. Conway was the best of theirs with 122. But Bangladesh, they responded with 458, but they had no tons. They had 4 blokes reach 50, but none of them tunned up. And they had a 5th wicket partnership there from Das and Haku, is that how you say his name?
Huck, I'd imagine.
88 and 86 for them. But surprisingly, New Zealand came out and responded only with 169. The right arm quick got a career best, and that was Hossain. He got 6 for 46.
And a lot of top order wickets for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got most of the top order.
Yeah, all the top order except Latham.
Who would have thought this, going down to New Zealand, where they're notoriously hard to beat at home? Bangladesh, obviously coming along well in white ball cricket, we've seen in recent times. When Australia went over there for that T20 five-game series, smoked us 4-1. We've obviously seen what they can do at home, especially in a shorter format. Who would have thought that they'd go down to New Zealand and knock off the defending world champs and get their first ever win on Kiwi soil? Yep. Bangladesh is a country of, I believe, about 180, maybe 200 million people. Yep. There would have been some absolute scenes, I imagine, in Dhaka, Chittagong, Chattogram, and the rest. So shout out to them, and hopefully they just continue to strengthen as a cricketing nation, particularly in the longer format.
Yeah, more challenge.
This match could be important when the next time the ICT Test Championship comes around, and thinking about where New Zealand are going to be placed. Because you mentioned Oz is up the top at the moment, England's down the bottom, but I think New Zealand's pretty close to where England are. Obviously, it's early stages since the last championship. I've got it on the phone here. One match can make all the difference, can't it?
Yeah, the problem, I suppose, with this World Test Championship is that we're on top with our 3 wins at the moment, and then England's down the bottom with their 8 matches, 1 win. So it's kind of all over the shop. New Zealand are down the bottom, but they've only played the 3 games. So plenty of time for them to kind of push forward. But England, they're gone. They're not playing for the World Test Championship. I'll tell you that right now. And New Zealand, if they can't pull out a home win here in this second game against Bangladesh, you might be able to put a line through them too.
Not good scenes here for Boland walking around not in his kit, so I think his day is going to be done, which is unfortunate. They haven't.
It's such a shame, isn't it? After the absolute domination that we've seen from Scotty Boland, hopefully he recovers and and get to play a bit more Test cricket. There was a lot of chat that Melbourne, if Hazelwood had been good to go, you would have thought Scott Boland might have missed out on this Test.
Yeah, maybe he's just looking after his average.
Played 2 and hopefully he gets a few more.
He's just walked off the field looking after his average.
Yeah, that's right. He's gone. I'll call it. It's a gentleman's agreement. I'll play 2 tests and I'll have an average of 9. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah. So to finish off Bangladesh, New Zealand, Bangers only needed 42 to get the win there, and they only lost 2 wickets to do it. So
I think they played one more match.
Yes.
Yeah, to the Bangladesh Tigers. One more test, and then I believe New Zealand come over here for some white ball cricket.
Oh, nice.
So, Big Bash League, to finish us off with cricket.
There's a lot of cricket happening at the moment.
Oh, big time. So we probably won't cover everything that's happening in the Big Bash League, but it's a lot of the replacements, I think.
Oh, man.
Keanu Reeves says hello.
You have to keep an eye on it because games are getting rescheduled.
Yep.
There's blokes getting called up who are on fishing trips, getting told, come
big
down,
time.
you'll have a go.
Yeah, come over.
Mate, it is Sunday social. It's like, oh shit, we've got 8 blokes. Call everyone you know. We need 3 more fill in. We need 3 P-ins on the list.
Yeah. So, you boys run us through some key stats of probably the 2 biggest names still standing around and hit and runs. Well, I just take a quick break.
Oh, yeah. So
I'll run you through the first one. Ben McDermott. He has got back-to-back hundreds. It's pretty rare to get 100 in T20 cricket as it is. This bloke's got back-to-back ones for the Hurricanes. He's the top scorer so far in the Big Bash League. Surely the Australian selectors must be thinking maybe not an ODI, definitely a T20 nod, but possibly an ODI berth going forward. The bloke can hit a ball and has really benefited, I think, from opening the bat rather than batting 3 or 4 as he has done in the past. And then the other bloke that's really shining is Mitch Marsh. He's only played 5 games, so he's a little bit down in the total runs department, but he's averaging 85 and striking at 144. Some blokes are saying he's the cleanest hitter of the ball in the world at the moment in the short format. There has been a little bit of chat about possibly a test return. Shane Warne was advocating for it. Boys, what are your thoughts? I'll give you mine quickly. I don't think white ball cricket equals red ball cricket. Big fan of the Bison, big fan of Mitch Marsh, but I can't squeeze him into our test 11 at the moment.
Well, I think, you've hit the nail on the head there. Like, where does he sit? Like, who are you taking out of the team that he replaces?
Yeah.
Like,
we're already struggling to find a spot for Khawaja in there permanently, so you're going to add Mitch Marsh into that mix. And like you said, and like we're talking about with some of the English batters as well, what you do in white ball cricket doesn't necessarily mean you'll have the same success in red ball cricket.
Sure thing. Like, look at Josh Butler, really struggling in this series, and over the last 2 years has been one of the best white ball cricketers in the world. So it's not the same game. I can see where Shane's head's at. He got horribly wrong because he was bagging Mitch Stark at the
He's making a habit of that, isn't he?
Yeah, doesn't he? Starkey's got the most wickets and he's averaging about 58 with the bat. And he was bagging Khawaja before this test in advocation for Mitch Marsh. That obviously didn't turn out too well. Shout out to Big Itchy, my mate Will Shaffron. He said he wouldn't mind Shane Warne bagging him, so he might actually do something with his life. I thought that was quite funny, a little bit self-deprecation, a little bit of a dig at Shane Warne. The old king of spin, he's getting it wrong the last few times. We'll give him a few hall passes because he's, the best spin bowler of all time that didn't chuck the ball. We'll give him a few more hall passes, but he's definitely pushing towards getting him off of the week, that's for sure.
Yeah. Maybe that's just his strategy, he's just bagging out on players, and then he gets into their head and like, all right, I'll show you.
A little bit of reverse psychology. I like it, man. Fire him up. I'll show you, Shane Warne, 700 and something test wickets.
I just think on McDermott and getting an Oz gig, I mean, form says yes, but it's one of those things that we're talking about with the test team as well. He's got to try and crack into the T20 World Championship side. So,
Yeah.
yes, McDermott's been in good form, but you know, who comes out so McDermott goes in? That's probably the hard thing that.
And that's an interesting point that you make there, Sam. But I do think, you know, when they're playing a triangular series, you know, with New Zealand and England, it might not be the same as the World Cup. They might give these guys that have played a whole 5-match test series a bit of a break and try and blood a few younger bloods. But you're exactly right. If he were to be trying to break into our best our best T20 11 rather, probably not quite there. But if there's a few guys that are going, yeah, I need a break, I'm not playing this T20, I think it'll be a good place for him to try and showcase his skill.
Yeah. So to finish up us on the cricket, England are currently 6 for 213. They only need 4 more runs to avoid the follow-on. They probably will do that. So that chat is out. So
Bairstow, nearly in the nervous 90s, hasn't scored a ton. He's much like Coley, I think, over 2 years for Johnny Bairstow. As we're seeing some elite Australian culture here, the beer snake getting thrown up in the air. That's the old honey. When people say Australians have no culture, you just show them that. Essentially, bunch of blokes drinking beers, getting around each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, Johnny Bairstow, if he was to turn up here, that'd be a big monkey off his back and possibly cementing his side. His spot back in this side for a few more test matches.
Yeah, definitely. And really getting England back into this game as well. So I'll have to see how long that lasts and whether they can put up a decent score to force potentially a draw at this point for them. Or you never know. They could run through the Australians and then we're in a hot contest for the last day. But it's all shaping up nicely currently in this test.
Yeah, that's right. Bit of competitiveness from 4 for 36 where I thought, oh, here we go. There's not going to be anything to watch on telly tomorrow to, oh, look, in a rain-affected match, we've got a game on our hands.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Okay, that'll do us for cricket. A long hour and 16. Well, I think it was an hour of cricket. So from an hour of cricket to an hour of NFL, we'll get stuck into what's been happening in the National Football League over in the States. Quick look back at week 17. Some highlights. There was the bazaar, so we probably got to talk about AB running off the field.
Do we have to?
A lot of stuff's come out. Claimed he was injured. Claimed he had one of the most strong painkillers to be able to go out there and play. There was talk about his bonuses, how he missed out on a mil potentially for a few bonuses and then a follow-on mil that he's turned down. There was chat about him getting cut and he was held on to for a couple more days. And I think he's officially now been released.
He's been released now.
There was the chat about him sneaking in the OnlyFans model as well the night before.
the toilet liquor.
Yeah, beforehand.
So liquor.
All craziness in relation to AB, but I think the best thing was...
He also dropped his first rap single.
Yeah, his rap song came out as well. But I think it was the
How's
best...
that doing on the charts?
Yeah, it was the best homage to...
Does it pop?
No.
Is that any good?
No.
That's not a no.
Yeah. But I think it was the best homage to John Madden you can have to rage quit halfway through down to your opponent and to leave the game. Throw off your clothes and away you go. That's what we know Madden as. Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
So, and also. There was in the Philly game, it was actually at Washington, I believe. The fence collapsed in and a couple of fans almost nearly landed on Jalen Hurts. Luckily, no one was injured and there was no massive...
Fitting that happened at Washington where just like the entire franchise collapsed.
Well, they've also announced on the 2nd, they're going to be announcing the 2nd of February, that is, they're going to announce the official new name for the team.
I thought long and hard about it, so better be good.
Yeah, it better be something good.
They're keeping with the football team.
Yeah.
Mate, do you mind chasing those ones up? It's pretty much the same, nominees that we've heard about. Red Hawks, there's Red Wings still in there.
Yep.
There's like the presidents or something. It's some pretty lackluster names. I think they might stick with the football team.
It's potential. While James sorts is that some of the wholesome moments, Burrow and Chase, they beat the Chiefs, and Chase going off for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns. They win the AFC North, and then Big Ben.
Most ever by a rookie, 266 yards.
Mm-hmm.
There's guys, by the name of Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, that had immaculate rookie seasons.
Yep.
Never did that. So he's a special kind of talent, Jamar Chase.
There's the 2 LSU boys who've gone back to back, setting the rookie record. So Chase this year, then Jefferson last year. So you see why they won the national championship 2 years ago.
Yeah, and the biggest fantasy score this season as well. So excellent job from them over there in Bengals land. And then Big Ben, his last game at Heinz Field, looking like he's going to retire. Ends up with the 4th most wins by QB at one venue. And then Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season in his 15 years as well because of that win too. So some wholesome stats there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that game, the Big Ben Pittsburgh versus Cleveland game. I really enjoyed that one. It was a good one.
And in the classic...
would you like to elaborate there, Steve?
There's
a nice story there.
Yeah, so we like to talk about NFL fantasy on the podcast. And, so Sean and myself...
Maybe not this week.
Sean and myself, we faced off in the Super Bowl, the big grand final.
The championship.
And, I mean, both of our teams underperformed. But it got down to the last game. Sean had Nick Chubb. I had Najee Harris. And Sean had about a...
17-point lead.
Yeah, 17-point lead.
So you know the quick math.
So
you see how
Harris was just, he was getting a lot of yards, but he wasn't getting many touchdowns. He was biting it back. It looked like I'd given up hope. It got down to the last
last play.
Najee Harris bust one touchdown. Thank you. And I won't rub it in anymore for sure.
It was unbelievable scenes. I thought, like, Sean, condolences, but I thought you had it all wrapped up. That all they had to do was kind of just milk the clock, get a first down and kill it. And then Najee just goes, nah, I might just house this. It was about 40 yards plus 6, and Steam out of nowhere wins our fantasy.
And then I almost had a car accident because I screamed with that much joy that my missus, who was driving, got freaked out. So,
and
absolute scenes. And you did everyone else in the league a favour and didn't let Sean win his 4th.
And he's a gracious winner as well. So
he was. To be fair, for a bloke that tends to not be too gracious, he was very gracious in defeat there. But I think even my wife...
I can't blame Michael. This is fucking Browns.
Hard one to cop on the chin for sure. Hard one to cop.
Considering...
Sean, how about this? I was sitting here in isolation with my wife, making her watch Monday Night Football, and all she was going was, go, Najee Harris. She just didn't want Sean to get that 4th championship.
Thanks, Sarah.
Jeez, we know who's favourite.
I know. I just wanted to point out they forced a guy that has a bad shot of the throw 40 times and then put him on injury reserve after the game. Like, it makes no fucking sense. That's why Browns suck. So we'll continue to suck. Talking about people that do things on the regular, classic Brady being down big to the Jets in a very surprising way. Didn't matter. They ended up getting that win, the 2-minute drill. He saves that game against the Jets to get their win there. And the NFC is tight, but I can't rule them out even when they're 44-year-old Tom Brady. So potentially he's in his 2nd MVP. He leads the league in touchdowns and passing yards ahead of Aaron Rodgers, who's... between the two of them, probably favouring up to be the winner of that record. May actually come down to what happens this week. If Brady does well, goes past the 5,000, which he should, because he only needs another 70, I think, and adds a couple more touchdowns to that number. What's he at, 37? If he gets to 40, that's...
40 TDs, 12 picks.
There you go.
4,900 yards. Quarterback rating, 101.
Yeah, like it's... that's unbelievable stats. Rodgers is close behind.
Rodgers, 111 quarterback rating. Fewer yards because he did miss a game. That's right.
Also, he's
35 TD, 4 picks.
Yeah, 35 and 4. That's the key number there.
How's this, right? Aaron Rodgers has 4 interceptions, over 500 passing attempts.
Yep.
If provided he does not throw an intercept this weekend, he will be the only player to have achieved this 3 times. No one else has done it once.
Oh,
so there's your argument there for A-Rod being back-to-back MVP.
Yeah, we're very lucky. Tom Brady's the GOAT of quarterbacks, but you probably say Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback to play the position.
Well, he's not getting at least one vote. Rodgers is not getting at least one vote out of Chicago.
Yeah, but that's classic Chicago media. Monks, did you get that answer to the question of Washington potential names?
Yes, I did. So there was reports that earlier on in the month, the domain name WashingtonAdmirals.com was redirecting to the WashingtonFootball.com.
Yeah, the Admirals.
That was very quickly
that's average.
shut off.
Average.
Well, they had generals at one point as well. So
I mean, like I mentioned before, some other names, including there was the Admirals, Presidents, Red Hogs as well. But the football team also put out a post on Twitter of a new look threads, and it had like the little gold stars, as Admirals would do on their cuff. So that's probably leading a little bit towards that side of thing. Probably one hurdle in the naming of the Washington Admirals is there's reports that the Major League Quidditch team for the Washington area is called the Washington Admirals. So they might have to pay out that Quidditch League team for naming rights.
Yeah, they'll be like, here's a couple $1 million. Fuck off.
A couple $1 million to the Quidditch team. Fuck that, give them a stock.
Get some good new broomsticks with $2 million.
Dobby is free. Master has given us a stock. That's what the Quidditch team needs.
That's it. And Sportsbet, if you want to follow them, haven't even got the Admirals in as part of their the futures for the naming rights. They have
really call them up, you reckon?
Maybe. We've got Commanders sitting at favourite at $2.25.
Yeah, they've been up there.
Yeah,
$2.25.
Yeah. And then if we stay on the odds, if I just quickly jump back to MVP talk, Rodgers is sitting at $1.25 with Brady sitting out at $6.50 at the moment. So that seems to be pretty short up there.
Yeah, I think the odds in Vegas odds, though, were different. They had Brady ahead with Rodgers slightly behind, but that's because they do their odds slightly differently. But it's close.
That's a huge difference, though, between the two.
For us, yes, it's a huge difference. But I think it's firm enough to one of those two.
Can we talk quickly about Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor? I did bring this up with you boys.
Yes.
I did bring this up with you boys during the week. What does a non-quarterback have to do to win this award these days? Because by far and away, the best of their position by leaps and bounds. What's your thoughts on quarterbacks dominating the most valuable player?
Yeah, so I think we looked it up. And we're going back to say the last 30 years to the strike. There hadn't been a wide receiver as an MVP. Probably leads to the reason because who's throwing in the ball? They usually get the favoritism. Though Cooper Kupp's done an excellent job this year and probably set a whole bunch of records. You would think if you're breaking all the records that it would help. But it doesn't seem that way. They kind of get played as second fiddle. And in that 30 years as well, besides LT, Lawrence Taylor, the only defensive player, I think that was on that list. Actually, no, there was a couple, but they were in the late 80s. I just can't remember off the top of my head. There was a bunch of running backs sprinkled in, and most of the time they had to score 20-plus touchdowns and or go over 2,000 yards. So,
I mean,
we're talking Adrian Peterson, we're talking Sean Alexander, we're talking LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yes.
And in that chat about Jonathan Taylor, had a great season, but Derek Henry last year went over that 2K mark and didn't win. Yeah. So Taylor's he's 1,734, so we'd have to have a outstanding game to reach that 2K mark in a season that's one game longer. So I think can't see him getting it.
Yeah, his stock sort of jumped because he has, to a degree, been carrying that team like the Colts wouldn't be doing as well.
True.
Yep. So that's probably why he's sitting there. He's third in the MVP chat at $15. But again, you look at Rodgers and Brady at the top. They're your NFC 1 and 2 as well. If we look at Taylor and Cup, their teams aren't doing so great in the standings. So I suppose that's got to...
Joey Burrow's putting in a late... I think too many intercepts, sacked too often. But
yeah, well, he's had 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns in the last 2 games.
Yeah, his last even 3 weeks have been very productive, but might be too little too late.
Yes.
Can we bring up the last point that we did in our research this week? A kicker has won the NFL MVP in the last 30 years. So 82. I don't know why a wide receiver hasn't won one and a kicker has. And he was a toe punter at that. So it was, granted, it was the NFL strike year, so they might have been...
They're in lockdown.
Might have an asterisk against it.
There was no one else.
But there you go. There's one for your NFL pub trivia. A kicker has won the most valuable player in the National Football League before.
Yep. So
Mark Woods just hit back-to-back sixes, and so the chat about follow-on, that's gone.
Follow-on is gone.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's looking all right there, playing a T20 game at the moment. So,
and my pet peeve, the news comes on, and I've got to go over to 7 Mate and watch it in non-high definition.
Yeah.
7, sort your shit out.
Yeah.
No one cares about the daily case numbers. Keep this on. Put the news on 7 Mate.
So let's preview some games. So the Sunday early games. Of course, Monday for us. No Thursday night football this week, coming off the New Year's. So our first game we've got here is Saints taking on the Falcons. Very much playing for pride and draft picks at this point.
Are there 2 Saturday games? Cowboys and Eagles, and I think your Broncos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have balled this because I did it early.
I think they've been flexed.
Sorry, yes. So when you say Sunday early games, do you mean actual Sunday for us?
So Saturday in America, Sunday in Australia.
Pets has fucked it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
if anyone else wants to write some notes, please be my guest.
Hey, you had all week. You're the one that's been dealing with the spicy flu, so...
I've been writing the notes the existence of this podcast.
We're the only one that can spell, so come on.
Anyway, if someone wants to bring up the games in order, that would be highly appreciated.
So Chiefs versus Broncos, 8 a.m. on Sunday.
Can you find that in our notes, Jimmy?
I'm surprised you weren't all over that as a Broncos fan, but maybe because they got nothing to play for.
And we're playing the Chiefs,
so you don't care.
I did want to ask you, Sean, what were your thoughts on Denver's year? Obviously, the defense looked really, really nice. Running the ball quite effective with that dual-headed backfield with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon.
Yep.
A very difficult division to be in. Mm-hmm. Did you think it was on par with what you're expecting, below par, above par? What were your thoughts?
Probably slightly below par because I thought we'd get to 500. So can't do that, of course, now. And playing the Chiefs is the last game that we're talking about here. They're current 11-5 and will clinch the division, but also trying to get the number 1 seed. So they're going to come out firing for this. I think offensively, to answer the question there, was pretty poor this year, so I don't think Pat Shermer and I don't think our special teams coach will be back They shouldn't be back, let's put it that way.
Is Fangio going to be back? You've been gunning for him.
Yeah, great question. So, again, Vic, excellent defensive coach and coordinator, and kind of really... if you really want to go back a month, go look at what Cincinnati did to Denver when they only scored 15 points. So you kind of can see the defensive talent's there. They've got an unreal defense, like you said. And I'm going to quote Chris Collinsworth here. In that first Chargers game, he basically said, hey, if Justin Herbert's on the Broncos team, they're probably in the Super Bowl. So that's where you answer the question of they're a good young team. They've got the talent. They don't have a quarterback. Locke's going to play this week. Teddy's missed the last month, I think, in football, essentially, since he got concussed. I think his season's done because he's not going to play in this one. Locke really, I think he's got the talent and the ability. I don't think we've got the offensive capability to coach him up. Would not surprise me if they go after Wilson Rodgers of that ilk. when those guys potentially are available. So I think they'll look to get one of those guys as a replacement in this one.
Just going back to Teddy Bridgewater, you as the resident Broncos fan, have you heard anything regarding his overall health? Is he going to be okay?
He was back.
It's just concussion, right? There's no structural damage.
Yeah, just a concussion. He was back limited at practice this week, but he's still in the protocols, so he's not going to play.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good to hear. You know, obviously concussion, nothing to sneeze at. But yeah, to know that everything, you know, structurally in his neck and head is all good. That's good news.
They do finish at home in this one, but I think I've been a Judas and picked the Chiefs. Most of Denver was on COVID last week as well in that loss to the Chargers. So they'll get a lot of troops back. But yeah, they've struggled a little bit with the COVID, whereas the Chiefs are on the up, so I picked them.
I'll pick the Chiefs.
Chiefs
as
Chiefs
well.
for mine. I'd imagine it's probably 4 Chiefs here.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah, I've got the Chiefs as well. They are heavy favourites, sitting there at $1.16 at the moment. Broncos are out at $5.30. We have a line of 11.5.
And the Chiefs will want to do their best here because they can possibly rely on the Texans to do them a massive favour in knocking off the Titans to clinch that number 1 seed. But if that doesn't happen, and unlikely that it does, they'll want to have that number 2 wrapped up.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. We'll get to Derrick Henry in a minute.
Texans beat the Titans already this year. Or this season.
Yeah. Okay. The other Saturday game, Cowboys, Eagles. Cowboys have clinched the division, and the Eagles will also go to the playoffs at 9-7. Do we think... Well, let's start with this game. I think I've gone Cowboys. Let me double check. Yes, I picked Cowboys. Thoughts on the table?
Cowboys?
Boys for mine.
Yep.
Although they do worry me sometimes. They're meant to have this elite offense, and then sometimes it just doesn't get going.
Yeah, just ask CeeDee Lamb.
I think they get the job done here against the Eagles, but I don't know if they're legitimate Super Bowl contenders.
No.
Very up and down, aren't they? Cowboys and didn't play their best game last week against the Cardinals.
No,
no, not at all. And there's been multiple occasions where they've been quite lackluster against, Sean, your Denver Broncos.
Yep.
Really found them out. Obviously that they're going to be there playing a playoff game, but can they get past that first round? I'm not sure.
I mean, Eagles as well. I think they probably deserve a bit of respect. At the start of the year, I probably didn't rate them and didn't think they'd make the playoffs, but they've won 4 straight now to put themselves in a position where they are going to be playing playoff football.
I think they're very dependent on Hurts playing well, of course. And
big run game behind Hurts, Sanders, Howard. Do I see them...
surprising anyone in the playoffs? No, I don't. I think
not in the playoffs. Could
they're
they
probably
beat the
one and
Cowboys this weekend? Like Cowboys with their loss of the Cardinals, they can't be 1 seed. I don't know if they
rest some blokes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hard to say.
I'm not in the tipping comp, so it doesn't matter who I pick. I'll pick Cowboys.
Yeah.
The tipping comp doesn't matter because both me and Mark forgot our tips one week, so Sean's going to absolutely pitch it in.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree, boys. I think the Eagles on their day, I think they've got that X factor, and I think they've shown that this year in knocking off a few teams where you wouldn't have expected them to do any good. But yeah, like you say, it all comes down to Jalen Hurts. If he can just control the offense, not turn the ball over, and rely on a heavy run game, who knows? Maybe they can get through to the second week. Are they going far this year? Nah.
Not the NFC.
No. Monks, what are your tips and odds?
Yeah.
I think you said Cowboys.
Well, I guess we'll start with Eagles. You mentioned that they're on a 4-game win streak. That is against 2 games against Washington, 1 against the Giants, 1 against the Jets.
Yeah.
Elite competition.
Yep.
That's it. They are putting points up, though, which is very promising. And then on the Cowboys side, if fantasy is anything for me to go off, like Prescott has been up and down. He's not the quarterback you expect, high 20-odd points like he did in previous seasons. So it does have me a little bit worried. That being said, I have still backed the Cowboys in. They are favourites $1.45. The Eagles are out at $2.76. We've got a line of 4.5, sorry, and total match points of 43.5.
Don't like any of that. Okay, so we'll go back to Saints and Falcons. We mentioned both out of the playoffs. Probably need to give a shout out to Jameis Winston for what he was doing for the Saints because they've been hot garbage since he got injured, unless they were playing the Buccaneers and Tom Brady. But outside of that, they've really struggled. Kamara's been trying to carry them as best they can. I've kind of gone a bit of surprising one in this. I've picked the Falcons. Like some of what they're doing. Pitt's got over 1,000 yards, first tight end to do that in 30 years as a rookie. And the other news, it sounds like Ridley's potentially going to be moved on and go elsewhere. Okay. Which he hasn't been playing the last 6-7 weeks. So, but I like the way the Falcons are going. I think they've played better recently, whereas the Saints have been worse. So that's my thoughts.
I don't mind that, Sean. I'm going to go the other way and go the Saints, but they've been very lackluster, obviously, since that Jameis Winston injury. Is Taysom Hill a franchise quarterback? Look, all things kind of point to probably not. Atlanta, they obviously haven't been any good this year, but a lot of people had them being right down there, with your Detroits and with your Jacksonvilles. And your Houston Texans, et cetera. If they could finish the year 8-9, good on them. I'll just go the Saints on the back of their defense. I think their defense might be able to get them through this one.
I like Saints defense as well. Cam Jordan had a great game last week, albeit against the Panthers kind of patchwork offensive line. But yeah, I think the Saints defense keeps them in enough games that their offense is it has been a big step down since Jameis left, but I trust the Saints defense more than the Falcons defense. I'll go Saints.
Miss Monkey?
Sorry, Michael, just on that. The last 3 weeks, this is how many points the Saints offense have scored. 9, 3, and 18, and they won 2 of those games.
Yeah.
That's it.
Tips and odds?
Yeah. I've gone Saints as well. They are the team that beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That being said, they're definitely not the team that they were at the start of the season. They are favourites up against the Falcons at $1.52. The Falcons are out at $2.55. We've got a line of 3.5 and total match points of 40.
No, don't like any of that. Unders. All right. As we get refreshments here, can you just scroll down, Mr. Monkey? Steelers taking on the Ravens as the next game, potentially Big Ben's last game. You might need to find out for us as well who's got a quarterback for the Ravens because Lamar's been in and out recently. I think he's been practicing, but he hasn't been playing. Both teams could potentially making the playoffs, highly unlikely. They need Colts loss and a whole bunch of other results. Was this a disappointing season for the Ravens? I think so, but they've been so injured, been banged up, COVID, all the lot. So they've had, a really bad year personnel-wise. Steelers, on the other hand, probably getting a little bit more healthy towards the back end of the season, and Harris has really been helping them out. And Big Ben, I think, has played actually better in the last week or so. To me, it's going to depend on quarterback. I've picked the Steelers as Big Ben's last game, even though they're going to be at Baltimore, which is not great for Steelers generally. I think Big Ben will have a big game in his last one here. And if no Lamar, I think definitely for nothing for the Ravens.
Yeah, I'll go Steelers too here. Like we say, it's theoretical, but it's like in the realms of less than 1% chance. So pretty much both these teams playing for pride. The Bengals go through in the AFC North, and Steelers, and let's see what happens in Big Ben's last game.
How many sacks does TJ need? It didn't mention.
One. I think he's 21 and a half. He needs one to equal the record of 22 and a half and then one to break it, I think.
Because he got, four on the weekend?
He got 4. So out of nowhere, TJ Watt went from being kind of a smoky for the NFL Defensive Player of the Year to probably a shoe-in and possibly the sack record holder. Obviously, a game extra helps. Mark, can you bring that one up? Does he need half a sack to get the record for himself, or does he need a full sack to
22 and a half is Strahan's record.
So he's on 21 and a half.
Okay. One to tie, one to anything after that to take the record.
Yeah.
So one to tie, and then anything else solely owns it.
Yep. Monks, who's quarterback for the Ravens?
So Lamar Jackson did not participate at practice. I'm just trying to find what the depth chart is looking like.
They put him in cotton wool now that they can't make the playoffs.
Potentially, and let Huntley play.
Why, Rich?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Ravens, they've done so well with the situation around that team this year. Like, they are,
they've got a good coach. Let's put it that way.
They are, 2 missed 2-point conversions away from being 10 and 6.
Yep.
With just so many players missing so much football.
Yep.
They're a very good football team. It's just hasn't been their year.
What do we think about that, lad? Going for 2 and trying to win games there and there. Obviously, it hasn't paid off for them. They talk about analytics these days, and it kind of suggests to try and go for it when you're there. What are our thoughts on going for 2 for the win?
Hey, if the players want to go for it on 2 and the coach says, yeah, let's do it. I think you can back that because they've definitely won a game this year from going that way as well.
Against the Chiefs early in the year.
Yeah, so...
I think I've heard Colin Cowherd, a US kind of podcaster as well, and he says that's their brand. Everyone in that building knows this is what we do. We go for it, and so everyone's on board with this is our identity. Yeah, we live by it, we die by it. So in that sense, you go, all right, exactly. Everyone's on board. You have to take the good with the bad in that sense.
So Huntley,
I like it. I like it in theory. I think the execution could have been a lot better. The plays that they dialed up, I thought, were pretty lackluster.
Yeah.
I think if you look at like an Andy Reid playbook, or someone that's got a little something up their sleeve to bust out in that situation. You need something that you're confident that'll get you that 2 yards and it's a high percentage kind of thing. I think both times they've just kind of rolled out, tried to look for Andrews, someone's been on him, and the defense has been able to get all over it. I think what you need is a little bit of trickery, a little bit of show and tell, and something that you've got high confidence in being highly successful. But I don't mind the approach.
As a Packers fan, you probably want a bit more of that in your club. I'm guessing.
Possibly.
Yeah.
That might be where that opinion comes from. But I don't know. It's like it's like the movies. You want something that you've got up your sleeve that you haven't shown that you can go to, and it's probably going to be a high percentage, and that you can pull out at the death, not just a quarterback roll right and look for your number one target.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So Huntley potentially going to be quarterback there. Monks, what was your picks for this one? And odds, please.
Yes. I think off the back of Steel's defense at the moment, I have also picked them. They're actually underdogs at the moment for this matchup. They're sitting at $2.70. The Ravens are sitting at $1.47.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we've got a line of 4.5 and total match points of 41.5.
If anything, unders in this one. They like to grind out a football match.
Defensive battle.
Yeah. So we then have the Jets taking on the Bills. Bills have clinched playoffs. Jets, of course, are very far away from playoffs again. They will want to win for seeding, of course, so they're going to come out and play well, but they can't get the first seed.
They're playing for the division title.
Yes. They're going to be in. It's just they don't want to be a wild card. Essentially, they want to be number one.
Yeah.
So
what's the tiebreaker saying if both the Pats and the Bills win, they'll both be 11-6.
Yeah,
Do you know who
Bills-
wins on the tiebreaker
Yeah,
there?
Bills, I think, on like AFC conference record,
yeah.
because they're 1-1 against each other.
Yes.
And so I think the next thing after that is the conference record, which I think the Bills have.
Right.
So, yeah, Pats want the Jets to do them a huge favour. And look, Bills have lost to some crap teams this year. So,
They have, haven't they?
yeah.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Who else? Someone else should beat them.
Yeah, maybe Finns. The Jets do have talent. I do like where they're going as a franchise at long last. But this is not the year, of course. I've picked the Bills to win this one.
Bills for mine.
Bills.
Mr. Muggy.
Yeah, I've gone Bills as well. They are heavy favourites at $1.08. If you want to get on the Jets, they are sitting at $8 at the moment. We have a line of 16.5 and total match points of 41.5.
So we got Bengals taking on the Browns next. As mentioned, Baker is on injured reserve and going in for surgery. Bengals coming off an elite fortnight of football. Will Bengals potentially rest players in this? They are 10-6. I think 11-6 probably doesn't help them too much seeding wise, but it's still against a divisional rival. I think they want to come out and smoke them, and they potentially could. Even I think the Chubb potentially a half Chubb with banged up ribs in this one. So I think the Bengals will win it irrespective. So for me.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be rested because they're such a young team. They don't have that experience. If
you want to go in
the
hot.
Chiefs who've been there, done that for a while, but like for these guys, it's pretty much all of them. It's going to be their first playoff series. I don't think they get rested.
Who's on that roster that's been to the playoffs before? I can't imagine it's many.
Probably their defensive end
came from the
Hendrickson
Saints.
with the Saints, but
He's the only one.
yeah, wouldn't be many.
There'd be a couple like veterans that have come across and joined the squad that would have, but for the big names, the guys that Mixon, Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Burrow, like their offense, a lot of those guys wouldn't have.
And I think the only game they've dropped in their division, they swept the Steelers, swept the Ravens.
Yep.
They only lost to the Browns in their division. I don't think they'll want to be swept by the Browns, the two Ohio teams going against each other. I think they'll play all their good players and they'll win.
Yeah, especially leading into the playoffs. So, yeah. Marks?
I picked the Browns. Sorry, not Browns, the Bengals.
Oh, did you? The Browns.
No, he said Bengals.
Go on, Bengals. Underdogs. They're $3.13 at the moment. Browns are sitting at $1.37. I've got a line of 6. Total match points of 38.
Well, if all those blokes play, like we said, potentially that's why they've got it low. If all those other blokes play, the Bengals could probably score all those points themselves.
So you're expecting the Bengals to score the lion's share of that one.
Yeah, so maybe the bookies kind of leading towards potentially some of these guys would be rested, but we will see. Then we've got the Pack taking on the Lions. The Pack have clinched the NFC North. The Lions very much helped jumpstart the Packers' season at the start of the year. So to get them to this point, were they 1-3? No, they can't be right.
No, because they
Lost their
game.
first, and then they started turning around.
Yeah, that's right.
They started poorly in like the first half, or something, and then they fired up.
They have clinched the North, and they, I believe, have they clinched the 1 seed, or they?
No, Rams.
Rams
are contenders.
Yes, and yes. So Rodgers has said he wants to play. Potentially got the MVP on his mind, as mentioned before with the stats there. He wants to keep in that race against Brady. We mentioned Hub a little bit earlier about calling Rodgers a bum and not going to vote for him. And we've talked about Rodgers' stats already for his picks. So he's elite, or in an elite company, potentially going to get his 4th MVP. For you as a Packers fan, perhaps you probably don't want Rodgers to get an MVP because they don't win Super Bowls often.
The curse.
Yeah, so I think Packers should win this game quite handily and dominate. I don't think Goff played last week.
No,
I think Boland played for them. So yeah, Boyle. Sorry, yeah.
No, Boland's back on the field.
Scotty Boland can't take 6 to 7 and quarterback the Lions at the same time.
You never know. Maybe he could.
But he is back on the field fielding for Australia, which is potentially
I know you're just listening to me. Yeah. I hope Rodgers has a week off. Rest up that toe. He had been whinging, that he was in pain. Surely you'd want to try and rest up and put it in the hands of the other boys. They should get the job done regardless of who plays quarterback. So that's my personal thoughts. Just going back to Hub Akush, he is one of the 50 media members who does get a vote, and he said he's not voting for Aaron Rodgers because he's a jerk. I don't think that necessarily means that should influence your voting. You need to vote on who you think is the best football player, your most valuable football player in the NFL season. For someone to come out and say that publicly, and for them to cast one of the 50 votes, bit on the nose for mine.
Yeah,
I'd be having a look into that.
I mean, you can probably not get the Walter Payton Award because you're a jerk, but I reckon you can still get the MVP award if you're a jerk.
Yeah, so. I think Roger's comment as well, that if that's the case, you should change it to the most vaccinated player. It was a pretty good one as well. So.
That's pretty good. Well, if you've got
about most immunised?
I mean, if you got these kind of blokes making these comments about the personality or personality traits or whatever they think about players off the field, then this thing goes back to that whole chat about wide receivers and running backs. Like, is there some inherent line of thinking within these groups of people where like it has to be a quarterback, it has to be one of these type of players? Like,
I think I can't remember who made the comment in our group chat, but it's like it might have been you picking the most valuable of the most valuable that position, because you talk quarterbacks. If you don't have the quarterback, it's very, very hard, no matter how elite the rest of your team is, to make it into the playoffs and then to win. Yeah. So you're picking from that small cast.
Denver Broncos.
Yeah, exactly. So.
It's an unusual sport in that everything comes from that one position. There's not too many sports that I can think of where everything has to run through one man. I suppose, you think about rugby league or rugby union where everything has to sort of come through a halfback or a scrum half, but it's not quite the same. Yeah. It's probably the only sport in the world where one position dictates so much of the outcomes. So I suppose that's the argument there.
Yeah, I agree. So, Monks, what's the odds for the Packers winning this by a lot?
Yep. So I'm assuming it's all for Packers. They are favourites $1.53. Lions are out at $2.51.
Potentially a bit further out than I thought, and that could lead to maybe they don't think Rodgers is going to play. Yeah. So interesting there.
I think they still got a lot to play for. The one seed. Yeah. Because it's just the one team and not the two teams that gets the bye. Yep, that's still huge. That's worth playing for. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and then Rodgers can rest his toe at that point.
Well, that's right. You get that week off anyway.
Yeah. So the next match, we got the Titans taking on the Texans. We talked about the Texans already beating the Titans this year. Titans have clinched their division, are currently the 1 seed. And they will retain the 1 seed with a win. They have been pounding the rock of late with Foreman and Hillard, but they do get a guy named Derrick Henry back. All hail the king. He's off injured reserve, has been practicing all week. Unsure if he'll play in this one. Maybe they'll give him a few touches, so he's right to go playoff time. But I still think the Titans will win this. I think they should beat the Texans.
Titans for mine. They'll get the 1 seed.
Titans as well, but it is interesting. Texans have already knocked them off this year, but surely that doesn't happen twice.
No, yeah. Not much to think about here. Titans for me as well. They are favourites $1.18. Texans are out at $4.95.
Yep.
With a line of 10. Total match points of 43.
Yeah. Don't like much of that.
Sam, you did mention before that the Bills like to lose to some shit teams. The Titans do the same. I think they've lost to the Texans. They've lost to the Jets this year. So can they put away these lackluster teams when it matters?
They've done very well against playoff caliber teams, which probably bodes well for their next month or so. But
So the next matchup, we have the Colts taking on the Jags. Colts can clinch playoff berth with a win. It's pretty simple for them. They have to beat the Jags. Surprisingly, I've picked the Jags to win this.
Really?
Yeah, the Colts haven't beat the Jags since 2014, so I'm gonna go with that statistic. They haven't beat Jags in Jacksonville since 2014. So I've gone with the upset here and picked the Jags to win this one and upset the Colts.
I disagree. I think the Colts will get this job done here. I think they've been going in the right direction. Apologies to our fans of purely American football, but Johnny Bairstow has just turned up for England. Emotional scenes here at the SCG really picked them out of a pretty shit position, and looks like we've got a bit of a test match on our hands.
Yes, indeed. So after shell-shocking everyone with picking the Jags, what would it be?
Are you thinking, I know you're a big fan of like the fire the coach, then you get the win.
Yes.
Are you thinking that's just on like a month delay? That's got to come?
Well, they haven't had a win yet, so they need it.
That's got to come eventually.
Yeah.
They've got to have one win.
Historically, the Colts do bad in Jacksonville for whatever reason, so I'm sticking with the history here, and I've picked the Jags.
Like, I'm going to go Colts. I think, it's just sad to see Jaguars just year after year just be at the bottom of the table.
They've had some...
Always in the first 5 picks.
They've had some good good candidates for interviews for head coach go through there already, so hopefully they'll get someone of note and potential that can turn football Jesus and that team around.
Well, that's right. Lawrence is
coming
out of college. He was one of the best prospects ever.
And I think even if the Jags win, they'll still get the first pick.
Maybe
because Jets, Texans are both in 4. Oh, Lions. Lions. No, Lions. Yeah, if they win, the Lions would get one.
Anyway, Colts.
But anyway,
Colts play playoffs.
Max?
Yep. Yeah, I've gone Colts as well. They are heavy favourites, $1.07.
Oh, sure.
Jags are out at $8.50. So Sean, you might want to get on that one. We've got a line of 14.5 and total match points of 44.
All right, big matchup. We've got the Dolphins taking on the Patriots. Pats have clinched playoffs as per the Bills, but they would want that seeding. So they need a win here. Dolphins, of course, with their loss last week, has knocked them out. What are your thoughts, Steam, as a resident Pats fan, their year in review? How do you think they're going to going forward into the finals?
I think regardless of what happens from this point, the year is a success. I think when you start a rookie at quarterback, and having talked about how important that quarterback position is, you start the rookie at quarterback, you make the playoffs, that's a success. If, as I said before, the Jets do us a huge favour and knock off the Bills and we can come away with the division title, that'll be perfect. But making playoffs, success for the season, Jones has showed some good composure, good accuracy, been able to... hasn't had to do more than he's been asked to do. And the defense, like so many years for the Patriots, has been excellent. Plenty of turnovers, JC Jackson picking off people at will. But the Dolphins in Miami, like you've mentioned with Colts and Jaguars, even during the Tom Brady era, Patriots... The one team, AFC East team, that did give them a bit of worries. And
overtime win.
Miami Miracle, et cetera, et cetera. It is the Dolphins sometimes. So that's got me a bit worried. I'll still pick Pats, of course. But Dolphins do have this thing against the Patriots. They seem to play better.
Yeah, I don't know how many picks the Pats have in the next draft, but I think their draft's simple. It's just going to be lots of wide receivers, because that's probably their biggest weakness. Get Jones some weapons going forward in the next year. But like you, I think they're heading in the right direction. Let's hope they haven't gone from Tom Brady to Mac Jones like Favre did to Rodgers. 'Cause I don't think that's fair on everyone else that's fans in the league. Monks, your picking odds?
No. Yeah, I've gone Patriots as well. They are favourites at $1.35. The Dolphins are out at $3.21. We have a line of 6 and total match points of 40.
Yes.
Pepe, who did he pick?
Did you pick Pepe? Pats, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we going? Can we get to a decent game where we might get a Desmond?
I don't know.
There's not many.
There's not many in this one.
And speaking of, we should fly through these next two because they don't have any relevance to anything.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, Bears taking on the Vikings, all out of player contention. Has Nagy been fired? Is that official?
I think it's been
I
leaked.
think so. Monk, if you wouldn't mind chasing that up, I did see that on social.
Not
obviously
fired. Maybe his contract's up and he's not going to be re-signed.
Okay.
Because the reports
See
are
what you can find. I just did pop that in after seeing something getting around on social media. In the era of fake news, you do want to double check everything.
Yeah, the reports I could find there quickly has said that he won't return, which kind of leads me more likely his contract's up and they're not going to re-sign him.
Okay.
Which is probably fair and a good idea considering he's been absolute garbage for the Chicago Bears with the excellent defense he was handed.
Yeah, but what have
day.
they had to work with, you know?
Well, whoever comes in there's got Justin Fields, and it's interesting that, of the 4 first-round QBs, 2 of them will have new head coaches after their first year. In this one, I think the Vikings with Kirk Cousins back will get the win. They're more talented. They've got Cook and Jefferson. They'll kill them. That's my thought.
I agree. I'm going Vikings, and I'm going for a little Todd Carney PP. I'll see you in a second.
I'll go.
What, is that a bubbler?
Maybe it's good he's not on the video, but seems strange to me that Vikings
no one will ever know.
have got 7 wins and Bears have got 6. Like Vikings just seem so much better than the Bears, yet their record suggests they're only 1 win better. So that's
if you looked at their results, they've lost so many games by 2 or 3 points and then lost games in overtime. They could
hasn't been just an issue this year, but has been over a couple of years. Yes. So it'd be interesting whether
they're paying Kirk Cousins $45 million
whether
next year.
Zimmer's seat starts to get a bit warm, but
there's some chat of that during the week.
Yeah, Vikings.
Yeah, Max.
I'm just quickly having a look at any news or reports on Nagy. What I've been reading are reports that he's going to be fired. So they're using the word fired.
So he'll finish the season off and they'll just fire him shortly.
Does your theory
in Black Monday?
Does your theory work for like the coach being fired, then the team winning? Does that work if you like preemptively fire the coach before the game? Does it? Are the Bears going to win?
You know what's going to happen.
Maybe we'll have to wait and see. The next matchup we'll fly through again. Washington football team taking on the Giants again, playing for pride in this one. The Giants are hot garbage, so I've picked Washington.
Yeah, Washington for me. Be interesting to see what Giants do in the off season at quarterback, whether they stick with Daniel Jones or reboot again.
Do you reckon they need a reboot, or do you reckon he just needs weapons?
He's got all the weapons. He's hurt though.
Is it the offensive line that's the issue? Or
maybe.
But he has been turnover prone. But
yeah. I think they potentially could be in the market. If they don't get anything, maybe they stick another year and draft someone in the following year's draft because they're a bit light on this draft supposedly.
Yeah, I don't know who the prospects are this year.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what are those odds, Mas?
I've gone football team as well. Their favourites $1.32. The Giants are out at $3.43, and we won't worry about line or
So Panthers are then taking on the Bucks in the next matchup. Bucks, of course, have clinched their division. Did so weeks ago. Panthers have gone 2-11 and since have gone 3-0 start. No, they had a 3-0 start and then have gone 2-11 since.
That's bad.
That's
real bad.
You probably go look at the injury report for CMC and then find out the correlation there.
Darnold is like they've had a bit of carousel at quarterback as well.
But I think Rule will get another year for them, though they did get rid of Joe Brady.
Yeah,
start this year or during the year? Can't remember. Anyway. Are Bucks going to play their full team in this, or will they rest people? Because are they playing for anything?
I
don't think they can get one.
No.
If
they've already
what's
finished.
the
What's the
Packers lose?
tiebreaker? Because if they win and the Packers were to lose, I still think the Packers get the one.
The games are in different time slots, so maybe like the Packers game is at the early slot, and then the
True.
Buccaneers
Yeah, maybe
is
it'll be
in
game day.
afternoon. So maybe the Bucks will know
But
pre-game.
the Rams are still there though, so the Rams could potentially
whether they can get the 1 seed.
Oh,
or not,
true.
Because if Packers win, no one else gets 1 seed. Pack have sewed it up.
True.
So
Yeah.
So I'll just quickly go through the tiebreaker procedure. So if the tiebreaker, it goes to head-to-head first, and then it's best one-loss tie percentage within the division, and then best one-loss tied in common games, and the same again in games played within conference.
Yep.
And if all that is equal, it goes to strength of victories
schedule.
in all games, and then strength of schedule.
Oh, okay. So victory. and schedule. Yep.
And then, it gets a lot more confusing after that.
right,
Yeah.
I'm hoping it doesn't get that far down.
So it potentially they may not play starters if Pack win. Let's put it that way.
But they're getting unhealthy at the wrong time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah, aren't they?
Yeah,
They are.
With Brady's pretty much the only one left with playoff Lenny.
Yep.
Yeah.
They did get
Godwin.
Evans. They did get Evans back, but
They're
the rest
back.
of
Now no AB on the team, obviously.
they did play Bell. He gets some snaps last week, so maybe he can do something for them playoff wise. But yeah, I still think the Bucks should win. I'd be interested to see what the odds are on this game, whether they kind of reflect potentially that Bucks might not have starters.
Yeah. I think with the Bucks, it's really just getting their tight ends more involved, probably going 2 tight end set.
Yeah, even 3.
They could go 3, yep. shoot Gronk out onto the
Or maybe-
slot or
No, Howard probably makes more sense playing as a receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the odds.
So I assume everyone else was Buccaneers.
Yeah. I mean,
Bucks,
I feel like Panthers 2-11. They're not good.
No. Months?
So odds are Bucks are favourites $1.25. The Panthers are out at $4. We have a line of 8. Total match points of 41.5.
Yeah, I don't like that. What was the Bucks to win? What was the head to head? They were $1 what?
$1.25.
Yeah. Still short. They're probably shooting everyone's playing. Okay, late games on Sunday. Seahawks taking on the Cards. Again, disappointing year for the Hawks. Potentially Wilson's last game for the Seahawks and probably Pete Carroll's as well if Wilson leaves. I don't think Carroll's going to stay around for a rebuild.
Is he off contract, Russ, or what's?
Don't think so, but potentially they could try to trade him now for value to then do the rebuild with Carroll potentially retiring and a new head coach.
Yeah, okay.
So-
I mean, I think this will be his first year that isn't a winning season.
Yes.
So that seems extreme talk that Russ could be out as a Seahawk. I mean, all he's done since he's got there is win. So
Yep.
With the QB1s, how hard they are to come by, it seems pretty big that you'd move off him.
And then it might be more in Wilson's camp potentially as well. They haven't really supported him too much.
Or is this just Broncos?
Oh, I'd love to see it, but
Just
We want
feeding
Russ.
that rumour.
but I'm not the one that started that rumor though. Like there's definitely been some unhappiness at the start of the season in his camp. With the whole let Russ cook movement.
Yeah, hasn't hasn't served up.
He's led the most sacks taken in the league many times in his career because they haven't invested that well in the offensive line. Maybe he's like, hey, I'm 33, I think now. Maybe I've got another 5 years left in me. I am more of an athletic quarterback than the other two, so I've taken probably a bit more punishment than when I say the other two, Rodgers and Brady have. So maybe my career is not going to be into the 40s. So can I see myself winning the Super Bowl with the Seahawks currently with the roster? Maybe not. Pete Carroll's, late in his 70s now. Like he's potentially might not see out my next 4-year contract with the Seahawks anyway. Who knows? But in this game, it probably doesn't matter. Cards win.
Yeah, I think, Cards win. Got far more to play for because I think what happens if Cards win and Rams lose?
And Bucks lose.
Well, no, I'm just seeing the NFC West title. I think the Cardinals can win the West if they win, but Rams lose.
Yes.
So that's incentive.
Yes.
As Seahawks just playing for pride. So Cardinals at home to win.
They can't get the one because of the Packers. But it probably doesn't matter if they jump the Rams or Bucks anyway. But yeah, they've anyway. Cards, perhaps cards.
Cards, yeah.
Yeah.
Max?
Just real quick back on Russell Wilson. He's got dead cap money of 26 mil next season. So probably not too much incentive.
If they trade his contract, though, I don't think they get lubbed with that.
No, but that waits until late on in preseason. Is that right?
I think there's probably some ways around it. Because the dead cap is really only there for release from memory. So if you cancel his contract, you then have to pay that out.
Yep.
But if you trade his contract, you don't get hit with the dead money. I think that's how the salary cap works from memory.
You're right. Still, something for the organisation to think about. Sorry, see, I've gone cards as well. Their favourites $1.33. Seahawks are $3.34 at the moment. We have a line of 6.5 and total match points of 48.
2 games.
48.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a fair bit. Cardinals
can rack it up.
Seahawks scored 52 points against the Lions, so
against the Lions.
they can score points. All right, 2 games to go. 49ers taking on Rams 1. The Niners are still alive, and of course Rams have clinched playoffs and potentially will need to, if they want to win the West, win this match. I think the Niners have been better of late. I think Jimmy G's still going to be out for this one. Are we going to have a Trey Lance game?
Thumb. That was the issue last week.
I have still picked the Rams because I think the Rams are going to win anyway, irrespective of that. That's my thoughts.
Rams here.
I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to go 49ers because I think Shanahan owns McVay in their record.
He does.
True.
I think
they won earlier in the year, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They pound the rock. They play physical football. I think 49ers G themselves up 4 games against the Rams. And I think 49ers have to win to get in.
Yes.
I think depending on what happens with the Saints and the 49ers for that last wild card spot. So
Saints have to be out. They're 8-8.
yeah, but then if Saints win, 49ers lose.
Yeah, okay, yep.
Yeah. So 49ers got a lot to play for. Have the wood over the Rams. 49ers.
Yeah, I can see that. Marks?
Just real quick on Jimmy G.
He's
still.
I think the last game, which is probably the game of the round, with closeness and for what could potentially happen in it. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But give us some odds, Marks.
All right. So Jimmy G's questionable.
Yep.
So see how that plays out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questionables. Game day decisions.
Means Jack Old doesn't it?
It does. I've done it for the big man. I have also gone the 49ers.
Hey, Desmond.
We'll have at least one. We'll
Desmond,
see how this next one goes. That's it. They are underdogs at $2.71 at the moment. The Rams are $1.47. We've got a line of 4 and total match points of 44.5.
Yep. Yeah, don't like any of that. Okay, last matchup. Sunday Night Football. We've got the Chargers taking on the Raiders, both 9-7. Huge game. Winner makes it through into the playoffs unless the Jags win, and then these two could play a draw and both make the playoffs.
Yeah, have you seen that? There's something going around that says if Jags win and then so Colts lose, Bolts and Raiders could have a gentleman's agreement to kneel every single play and both make the playoffs.
Yeah, they play out a draw, and which would be hilarious on Sunday Night Football. Both make the playoffs in this. So it'd be hard to see that happening. You think one would play for the win, but they'd know the result by this point if the Jags win.
Jags have got to win first.
Yeah, another reason I picked the Jags just for this to happen.
That's right.
So, But a huge match between the two of them. You got to give props to the Raiders and what they've done this season after the season they've had off the field.
To even be in contention at this point.
You think with the Chargers, with their talent, and the Raiders kind of struggling a little bit with theirs, like Waller's been banged up for them. Hunter Renfro's been probably their best player on offense, and Derek Carr's been leading them around everywhere. I think I'd like to pick a draw in this, just for that world of that all happening. If I had to pick a team, I think I've picked Chargers. Yeah, I picked Chargers to win. What about you, lads?
I want to go with the Raiders. A lot of adversity this year, a lot of stuff out of most of the players' control. Nothing against the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert is an elite quarterback. Yep. I think their defense is sneaky good, but I just love to see the story of the Raiders with all that they've been through, with the Gruden and the Rad stuff. If they were to manage to make the playoffs, I think it'd be really good for morale amongst the Rad Nation. So, just based on that, I'm going to go to the Raiders.
What about this end of the table?
Chargers for me. I was just trying to find who won their earlier matchup in the year. Does anyone know when these two teams played each other?
Didn't they play overtime in Vegas?
Chargers.
Yeah,
this game's in Vegas. No, it would have been in LA.
Yes, it was.
It was an overtime at SoFi, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, overtime at SoFi. And didn't the Raiders win?
It wasn't overtime. I don't know why I said it was overtime. Chargers won 28-14.
Okay. Yeah, Chargers won the other.
I could see a similar scoreline happening in this one.
We got to remember it's prime time. It's in Vegas. That means overtime.
True, got to go to extras.
Yeah, that's a statement. Yeah. So this will be a close football match, I think. So we've got two Chargers,
two Chargers,
one Raider so far. Pep, Monks on the end table.
It's all right. We've already had one.
We've already had one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I've also gone the Chargers. Their favourites $1.59. The Raiders are out at $2.38. We do have a line of 3, so very close game there. And total match points are 49.5. A few points there.
Yeah.
Yes. And with that'll wrap up the NFL Hour for this week. Peppy, I might throw to you to kick off the NBA and talk about Dirk. Go for it.
Dirk Nowitzki, the number 41, has been retired by the Dallas Mavericks. How about this, boys? 21 seasons with the same franchise. That is an NBA record. Kobe Bryant had 20 with the LA Lakers. Dirk has that record solely. You talk about loyalty. You talk about where money goes in these big sports leagues. Dirk Nowitzki, 21 seasons with the Dallas Mavericks, 2011 champion, and the Finals MVP in that year, 2007 overall MVP, 14-time All-Star, unbelievable, 6 all-time in points. Probably, you know what? Get rid of the probably. The best player to ever come out of Europe, and it kind of changed the game. A big man that could shoot the 3-ball, he could shoot, 2-point jumpers. And his jersey got retired by the Mavs this week, the 4th time that has happened in Dallas Mavericks history. Shout out to you, Dirk Nowitzki. He was there, he was present, 3 young children on board to witness Dad's jersey going up, and it'll be hung up there forever.
Yeah,
that's real nice.
An excellent elite talent for Dallas. Also, speaking of elite talents, let's talk about Josh Giddey. He got his first.
Giddy up, baby. Giddy up.
Got his first triple-double, and then also ended up being the youngest player to ever do it in the NBA at 19 years and 84 days, which ends up being 56 days younger than LaMelo, who was last year. So the ball last year.
Yeah, last year. So that record keeps on getting younger.
Mm-hmm.
Boys, he's not going to win the Rookie of the Year, but he's going to be bloody close. Get the fuck around Josh Giddey. He decided to not play college ball. He wanted to test his skills here in the NBL, play against men, and he did that last year. He got drafted by the Thunder, I think 6th overall, and is exceeding all expectations. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait to see him in the green and gold in the Boomers jersey, boys, because there's going to be a bit of a passing of the guard, if you will. Paddy Mills starting to get a bit long in the tooth. Joe Ingles starting to get a little bit long in the tooth.
Yep.
Josh Giddey will go straight into that guard role. And boys, we've seen a bit going on with Ben Simmons of late. Who knows when he'll next be in a Boomers jersey? Who knows when he'll next be in a jersey of any colour?
Yep.
Do you know how much he is getting fined for each game that he misses? I'll tell you, $360,000 US. So
and what, 10 mil roughly in fines so far this year?
So far this year, over $10 million. Monk,
Wow.
give us a quick Google. Ben Simmons, we've been talking about, every episode we talk about where is Ben Simmons going. I don't know what's going on with the bloke. Surely you just suit up and try and, make a bit of that money. It's a lot of money. That's a house a week or a house every game that he misses.
I was going to say, I wouldn't mind some of that money.
Games per week.
You got to be going all right in life to just be like, 10 mil in fines.
Yeah, 10 mil. So it also makes you a little bit concerned. We talk about AB before and a public display of possibly, some kind of mental issue. You don't want to wish ill upon the bloke, but that's a lot of money to be kicking away each week, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he obviously doesn't want to be there, and the 76ers, for whatever reason, can't get the value they want for him, so he's been sitting around. I think it's been Jazz and Trailblazers as potential positions, but none of that's come to fruition, so he's probably going to sit around for quite a while. I did want to go back to Gidley
first. The whole season, I think the season's gone around.
I agree.
Play basketball this year.
Yeah, I agree. Unless something major happens between now and then, he's going to stay put, not play basketball this year. Back to Gidley, I just want to say probably a bit of a shout out to the NBL. There is a potential pathway with him and LaMelo kind of coming through there and doing excellent. So would not surprise me if you see more potential guys trying to skip college, come out here, play a year in a professional league, and then actually go into the NBA ready to go. Essentially, you've had your apprenticeship, and you can go out there and play straight away.
Well, we've seen the European players do it for years, Sean, where they just go straight as an 18, 19-year-old into a professional league in Europe, play a year or two, get paid to play, and showcase their skills, and then jump into the draft. So it might be a bit more of an avenue, perhaps, than going the college route. Having said that, a lot of rule changes we've seen already in the American football side of things, where college guys are going to be able to make money off their likeness, off their jersey sales. So, maybe it will go forward in the fact that these guys aren't just going out there and doing their apprenticeship for free, if you will.
Yeah. In comparison, the NCAA, in the football world, there's really no other big leagues outside of the US for them to go and actually play unless they've restarted European League, whereas there are potential options for guys to go play basketball around the world. So, interesting.
Great point you make there, Sean. A stark difference actually between basketball and American football. If you don't go to play for a college team in American football, you've pretty much got no chance. However, there are these other avenues in basketball that you can go out there as a teenager or as a 20-year-old and showcase your skills to then go get drafted.
Well, it potentially picks up those blokes that could have played either, and then they go, hey, well, I'm going to go play basketball as a 19-year-old because I can go play it somewhere overseas and get paid. Whereas playing at a college, depending on what college you're at or what kind of level you're at, it might be more beneficial to you to go play the other sport. Who knows?
Sure thing.
So, run us through what the Wizards, what happened in a Wizards game with the broadcaster there.
Yeah, this happened yesterday, boys. It's kind of a 50-50. Was it a horrible, genuine mistake, or was it really poor taste? Glenn Consor, a long-time Wizards broadcaster, he actually got to call a rare Houston Rockets win, buzzer beater, from Kevin Porter Jr. He shot the game-winning three. Obviously, the Rockets ranked dead last in the West, one of the worst teams in the NBA at the moment.
Yep.
And I think that the call as it happened was, you've got to give credit, like his dad, he pulled the trigger at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, quite innocuous, you would think. Possibly he thought that Kevin Porter Jr., his old man, was Kevin Porter that played for Washington in the 1980s. However, his old man actually got done for manslaughter in 1993 and unfortunately found himself on the wrong end of a shooting in 2004. LeBron came out quickly to condemn it. I don't want to speculate too much on this one, lads, because sometimes in the heat of the moment, maybe you say something that's untoward, and who will know his intent here? Yeah. Maybe he thought it was funny. Maybe he just had no idea. But it really turned out to be quite a bad look.
Agree.
Who knows if he's gonna keep his job? But not the best call, and a bit of a dampener on a rare Houston Rockets win. If you haven't seen that one on Twitter, go check it out, because I don't know the intent here, and I can't comment. You can't comment on someone's intent, but it definitely was a bad look.
Yeah, well, I think I'll just play the nice guy and just say, hey, it's two Kevin Porters here. He potentially, as a long-time Wizards broadcaster, has potentially thought the other Kevin Porter that had played for Washington, for the Wizards, was his potential father. But yeah, we've got two Kevin Porters getting mixed up here, and he's picked the wrong one. Well, got the wrong one, got the wrong information. I'll just say it was just an innocent mistake in this case.
I really hope that's the case.
Yeah, I agree.
Otherwise, extremely poor taste.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
it. Yeah. So he has come out after making those comments, apologizing, saying that he did think that the basketball Kevin Porter was his father.
Yeah, safe option.
He's obviously going to be saying that. We can't read into that too much either.
No.
But
the day that you can read intent will be the day that the Earth is a much better or a much worse place.
That's it. Yeah, but it just goes to show you got to do your research before you make comments like that.
Strong, uninformed opinions.
That's it. That's probably me talking in a glass house. So,
yeah.
What's that thing about glass houses and stones?
Stones. That's it exactly.
Yeah, you throw them, don't you? No. Let's talk Klay Thompson. Set to return.
Yeah, big news, yeah.
Has been rumoured for quite a while. He has been practicing also for quite a while. But he looks like the 2-day road trip to Dallas and New Orleans. Potentially he will get a start, which is on the Jan 9th in 2 days. It's been over 2 years since he's played, of course, having the Achilles, and then followed that with an ACL. Warriors currently arguably the best team in the West. Got a Curry out there doing Curry things. What do you guys think his impact's going to be for them coming back in the side?
Surely he's got to be catch and shoot for a while, limited minutes, you'd think maybe 15, 20 minutes, ease him back into it, and then get him right as they strive for another finals appearance or possibly an NBA title. You can't imagine he goes out there and they've got 30 minutes for him a game. Maybe no back-to-backs either. I think that's a big thing in the NBA schedule. Yep. Is having to account for back-to-back games. But I can't wait, mate. Klay Thompson, one of the best shooters of the free ball that the NBA has ever seen, and it's been a travesty that he's been out for so long. And as a fan, I just hope that his body holds up and we see a little bit of vintage Klay.
The Warriors also have the luxury, because they are 29-9, of easing him back in. They don't have
exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, there's no pressure. There is no pressure. They are statistically the best team in the West. You just want to probably get a little bit of run in his legs and get him right for playoffs or possibly finals time.
So kind of dream scenario for them, really, that they can just ease him back into it and hope, as you said, get him right for playoffs.
Yeah. Mark, so you're going to bring up the standings currently. I'll get him to put it on the big screen for us. For where they are in the where everyone is in the NBA. You can start either with the East or the West.
It's hard to get a full comprehension of it at the moment because
COVID, big time.
Yeah, some teams are like 3 or 4 games ahead of other teams. I think the Bulls have actually won less games than the Bucks behind them, but obviously they have played less.
Equal
wins, but they've played 5 less games.
Well, there you go, 5 less games. But let's talk about this Chicago Bulls team because it's been a really, really nice rebuild. Obviously bringing in the likes of DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso. Don't forget about the Ball Mamba coming in there. Could the Bulls, and this is speculative, I know it's early, but could the Bulls be looking at their first NBA Finals appearance since Michael Jordan left? I know it's early, but it's not off the cards.
I think they're playing really good team basketball, so I'm going to say they'll probably play finals. Maybe they don't finish 1 in the East, but I think they'll be up there and they'll play finals.
You reckon
like
finals?
That's
big.
Like
that's
finals
big.
as in...
Like considering the big names are the Bucks and the Nets. And
as in they'll make it into the playoffs is what I'm getting at. Sorry.
Sure.
Sorry, wrong lingo. They'll make it in the playoffs there. So we've got Nets currently in second with Bucks at third. The Heat also doing pretty well with their rebuild in fourth. 76ers have kind of moved up a little bit in their fifth.
Won 5 straight.
Yeah, and I think the Cavs are probably exceeding expectations. They're currently in 6th spot there with 21 wins and 17 losses.
That's all I wanted to highlight. The Cleveland Cavaliers. No one expected shit out of them. I think they came 12th in the East last year.
Yep.
They've got a young side. All their starters under 24, and they've been playing above expectations. They play tall, which is a little bit. It's kind of counterintuitive from the way that their league is going.
Yep.
To play a little bit taller, but Darius Garland, he's coming on leaps and bounds. He's averaging nearly 20 points a game. Laurie Markkinen, we've probably seen his best year out of the Big Spin. And Evan Mobley, Monk, if you wouldn't mind looking it up, Rookie of the Year, he's got to be odds-on favourite. He's averaging nearly 15 points a game, 8 boards. I think he probably takes out Rookie of the Year. And no disrespect to Cade Cunningham or our own Josh Giddey, but I think Evan Mobley is probably eyeing down that accolade there. Have you got any odds for us there, Monk?
Yeah, I got it here. So, he is favourite, sitting at $1.91. We've got Scotty Barnes sitting at $4.50, then Cade Cunningham at $5, France Wagner at $12, and then Josh Giddey at $18.
So odds on there for Evan Mobley.
Yeah.
And good on the people of Cleveland. It's pretty well documented that they've struggled in terms of football. They were lucky enough to have a man called LeBron James bring them a few championships, and since then in the basketball arena have really kind of struggled. So good to see them. They'll be there in the playoffs. I don't think they go deep this year, but moving forward, they've got a good young roster, and expect them to possibly challenge in years coming forward.
So still staying in the East, the 2 teams that are probably doing unders at the moment, Knicks and Hawks, both playing playoffs last year and both under 500 currently. So see if they have a better back half of the season than they currently got now.
Very condensed between the 5 seed and the 12 seed is 4 wins.
Yep.
So,
and that play-in tournament, look, people like to shit on it and this and that, but I think I don't mind it.
Yeah.
It means it makes it a little bit more interesting, for sides that are there or thereabouts. I am worried about the Atlanta Hawks. We saw them go deep in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Trae Young playing absolutely out of his skin. The fact that they're, 12th now in the East, 17-20, they'll want to get a move on. They've got a good roster, Clint Capella, Kevin Huerter. They should actually be at least in that top 6. What are they? 4 games behind Cleveland.
Yep.
Let's see if they can turn their season around.
Yeah. So if we jump over to the West, I think we've got Suns currently in first place, with 30-8, followed by the Golden State Warriors, who are 29-9. Jazz up there as always, followed by the Grizzlies, Mavericks.
7-win streak
for Grizzlies. Yep.
Shooting up the ladder.
And then it's the Lakers still managing to stay above 500 and kind of moved up, I think, a little spots. Then they've got Nuggets and Clippers behind them, who also played finals last year. I think the playoffs. Sorry, yes, playoffs. The rest of the rosters, the rest of the league, probably is where I thought they'd be. So
the big thing there is Memphis Grizzlies. Not expecting them to go as hard as they have. Ja Morant, I think he's a short price favourite to be the most improved player in the NBA. Do you boys know who has the most points in the paint this year? I'll tell you, it's Ja Morant. So a point guard that likes to get a little bit nitty gritty and get a few points in the paint. The Grizzlies will be there or thereabouts. Outside of that Western Conference, look, pretty hard to see anyone other than the Phoenix Suns or Golden State Warriors going deep. Utah, they've been there or thereabouts for so many years. I'd love to see them. Joe Ingles is there. Mm-hmm. Rudy Gobert's been, a defensive stalwart for years. You'd love to see him, but I think it might be a 2-horse race out there in the West.
Yep. So with that, that's NBA, and I think we'll go into our final round and talk about some soccer, some round ball football to start our final round. EPL.
Soccer sneaking into the final round.
Well, we've only got soccer and the UFC kind of finishes off with the Australian Open only just starting to kick off. But if we talk football, City have pulled further ahead. They're now 10 points clear on the table after beating Arsenal and Chelsea and drawing with Liverpool. Actually, no, beating Arsenal, drawing with Chelsea and Liverpool. Sorry. So again, heavy favourites.
That's a big lead, 10 points.
It is. Still a lot of soccer, of course, to be played in the APL, but City doing City things there. African Cup.
Mark, look up the odds there because 10 points is a lot halfway through the season or past halfway through the season.
3 and a bit games in lead?
3 points for a
win. Well, three and a draw. It'll be pretty surprising if anyone can chase them down. And I tell you what, as a Manchester United fan, you hate to think about Liverpool trying to chase down City, but the African Cup of Nations is coming up, and Liverpool will lose their 2 best players in Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane to that tournament. Yes, it is only 3 matches, I believe, scheduled during the tournament, but that could be the difference. It will impact a lot of the teams in Europe, but I'd be pretty surprised if anyone outside of Manchester City gets the silverware here again. I saw an interesting comparison this week on the interweb. I was talking with my mates as to who the United fans hate more, Liverpool or Manchester City. Surprisingly, Arsenal actually came into the equation.
Everyone hates Arsenal. What are you talking about?
Well, obviously through the mid-noughties when they were very good, Arsene Wenger, Thierry Henry, a really good side. Apparently, Arsenal actually rates above Manchester City. But the allegory, if you will, the metaphor I saw is that Manchester United and Manchester City are like an older brother and a younger brother, right? The older brother, back in the day, he used to win it all. He was king shit. He controlled. He got the seconds at the dinner table. Don't worry about that. And in recent years, the younger brother's just been coming through, and he'll never quite live up to the older brother's the older brother's accomplishment, if you will.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, their brothers, they don't care that much. Rah, rah, rah. However, that's obviously the United and City comparison. However, Liverpool and Manchester United, that's like the fella that lives down the street, and you fucking hate him because he's about on par with you, and you just go out every year. He's got a lot of history, and you just want to flog the shit out of each other. And that's like the Manchester United-Liverpool rivalry. And because essentially this year it's City and it's going to be Liverpool, maybe Chelsea chasing. Who would you rather as a Manchester United fan? And it pains me to say, I'd rather City win it.
Yeah, well, they've got 5 wins ahead of Chelsea there currently. So, but being 10 points. Just looking at the table, the West Ham still in 5th, and you got Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal.
Arsenal snuck up into 4th. You're probably not too happy about that, I imagine.
Yeah, after where they started the year. And we keep our Newcastle watch. They're still 19th with 1 win. They do go ahead.
They could get relegated. They could be the most expensive relegated team ever.
What was interesting, though, during the week was United actually lost to the Wolves at home, which was the first time since the 80s that had happened. So they're, of course, still fighting for a Champions League spot with Ronaldo, but he's been a bit of a disappointment. I think he started off pretty hot.
No. Ronaldo has not been disappointed. Manchester United have been a disappointment with arguably the greatest player to ever grace a football field.
Yeah, true.
It was their first loss after Ralph Rangnick took the helm. But when Ronaldo signed, there was a lot of morale. I think Manchester was starting to think they're red again, and it's just been very lackluster. And that's no fault of CR7.
Well, they definitely improved their position from where they were. Like they were down, below the Arsenal on the table, and they added Ronaldo, and then they actually won some more games and moved up higher than where they were. But they're not into the top 5 in competing.
Mate, they're 7th. They're 7th with one of the biggest budgets in the world, and the best striker that ever lived. So I think whatever happens, if they push for a Champions League spot, I think it's a disappointment of a season if they manage to do that.
Yeah, agree. So as mentioned, the African Cup of Nations is happening. Of course, we're massive fans of African football. Of course, I think Pepe, you said you like Egypt. Of course, got a good history there with Salah in the team, etc. I think you've got to go.
Well, we're going past Salah. I think they've won the most African Cups of Nations out of any African team. You don't really equate Egypt with success at an international level in soccer, but I'm pretty sure they've got the most African Cups of Nations. They've got one of the best strikers in the world. They've got Al-Nini from Arsenal there, an elite midfielder. And I think when you watch a World Cup and guys that play together tend to perform well on the big stage, a lot of these guys play together in Egypt. That's my smoky for the African Cup of Nations. Monks, have you got any odds there for us for the African Cup of Nations?
Yep, yeah, I do. So just quickly jumping back on Egypt. So they have won the competition 7 times.
7?
First time they won it was 1957. Then they won it in 1959, 1986, 1998, 2006, 2008, and then 2010.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting regarding not a big World Cup presence there from the Egyptians, but has seven African Cups of Nations under the belt.
That's it. And they've been runner-up twice, 3rd place 3 times and 4th place 3 times. So they've always been up there, thereabouts. If I go back to odds, so outright, we've got Senegal at $4.50. Behind them, we've got Algeria at $5.50, and then Egypt at $7.
Okay.
So not even that much of a smoky. They're the 3rd favourite.
yeah. Dark horse. That's what that's called. And with that, I think that's soccer. Finishing us. Well, actually, I think. Do we have anything after the UFC, James? I think the UFC finishes us off. Really.
A bit of fight news, and that'll do it.
Yeah. So, UFC 270 is coming up. We'll cover that in more detail next week in the podcast because that's on Jan the 22nd. Of course, Ngannou taking on Gain there for the heavyweight.
Gane
for the heavyweight.
I wrote it down.
For the heavyweight championship, the unification there. So we'll do a complete preview of that fight card coming up. The two big fights that were announced this week for UFC 272 confirmed is our boy Volkanovski taking on Max Holloway, which would be the trilogy for them. Volk having won the first two. And then we've got Sterling taking on Jan for, again, I think their unification in the weight division.
DQ or something like that.
Yeah, disqualification for Jan for the illegal knees and Sterling, and then Jan won the interim recently when Sterling pulled out of their rematch. So, again, this has been booked. Hopefully it happens. Another massive card. We'll cover that also in more detail.
Lots of interest in those two fights.
Yeah, definitely. There has been talk recently about another UFC in Australia, but COVID. So,
but COVID.
Which city is getting thrown around? Which Australian city?
Had been Melbourne and Perth in the past.
Surely not Perth. That's not part of Australia anymore.
True.
The communist nation of Western Australia.
Yeah,
it'll be part of Australia if it involves money.
Yeah. I
heard Narooma, New South Wales, putting their hand up.
But no, of course, nothing official. There's all been the chats with Dana White going back and forth with Jake Paul and all that other hyperbola. But we don't need to cover that too much now. This finishes Australian Open. James, has it actually started? Have they started playing?
17th.
Are they playing the play-in tour?
Sydney's got a tournament. Adelaide's got a tournament.
I think
Brisbane, of the warm-up.
Yeah, the warm-up tournament's leading into it. So that doesn't officially kick off until 17th. There we go.
Through to the end of the month.
Yeah, we'll cover that in more detail as it happens. I guess that's it. Is there nothing else major, nothing breaking? The tests finished up about an hour ago. England made it out of the day.
Bairstow turned up.
With about 100 to chase.
They were 7 down.
Yes. So. We did get Wood on a lucky one. Nothing breaking.
Huge knock from Johnny Bairstow there. I did hear a Barmy Army chant about Johnny Bairstow from a bloke from the Midlands. I played golf with him a couple of weeks ago. They do have superior chants. Hats off to them. It was Johnny Bairstow, you're the love of my life. Johnny Bairstow, you can marry my wife. Johnny Bairstow, we'll all have ginger kids. And look like you. Something like that.
Yeah. With that, I think that'll do us on the podcast.
On that note.
Fitting ending on that bombshell. Thank you, Pepe, for calling in. Should be back next week after he gets over this.
Thanks for having me, boys. It should be COVID-free by next week. It's good to get the 2022 year underway. Mm-hmm. Thank you to all of our loyal listeners that have sat through 3 hours of this dribble. Shout out to the team, Michael Stevenson's coming in.
Thank you for filling in, bro.
It's been good fun. Don't know if I've got 137 like Kawaja, but I gave it a crack.
You did well enough. Thank you, Pepe. Thank you, boys. We'll see you all next week for another On The Esky.
Cheers.
Bye.
See you next week.
Bye.
Catch ya.
He actually hanged up on us.